true.
And we are live.
Your name is Ilya. That's why.
I'd have to kill Daniel if he did.
Even knowing
the
the
stream is not showing
Mr. Will and Phil were already waiting in the chat.
Oh, they're waiting for us. I hope they feel well.
Literally not showing the stream.
Well, it started after I said that we were starting. After I gave the warning.
Sure?
So
but I've been
That doesn't sound like a good time to start.
it's live now for me. So.
Come on.
I don't know. I found it.
Okay, I had to like actually go
finding things online,
to
though,
your channel
really.
to find it, even though I literally have notifications on. Okay, I cannot stand. Over half of my YouTube ads are for Filmora, and I'm like, I literally bought your product. That's literally how I edit my
Buy it
videos.
again.
Well, I
Buy it
will
again.
in like April. I think I have to.
YouTube ads are funny. There's this band I really like called Caravan Palace, and if anybody knows what that band is, shout at me in the chat. But they're French. They're a French band, right? And I was listening to them for a while, you know, bought some of their albums, and then suddenly all my YouTube ads started showing up in French.
Nice.
And I was like, what the hell is this?
Okay, there was one time when I first got this laptop a year ago that my old roommate, who speaks fluent Spanish, she got like mad about something and started speaking in fast Spanish for the next week. A lot of my ads were in Spanish, and I was like, Maria! I can't read this!
Oh, that's pretty funny.
I mean, it's not like I was gonna read the ads anyway, but
True.
still,
Right,
I was very annoyed.
in the chat. Howdy, partner.
For everyone
Yet
watching,
I speak German all the time, and nothing shows up in German.
the Zelda VR is a fan project, not a real Nintendo game, obviously.
True.
Because although Nintendo had plans for the Switch to have a VR mode, it currently does not. Yeah.
Would be cool.
See. Yeah, so I guess with everyone ready, we can start.
Yeah.
Si, senor.
Sweet snowman shirt, says Jason.
It's actually a dress. But
Zelda
you can't
VR,
tell
what's
from
next?
It's a
Mario
dragon?
with guns? Well, I hate to
It's a
touch-
dress.
Oh, I thought you said it's actually a dragon. I'm like, what? It
Yeah,
looks...
it's a
I'm
dragon
literally
now.
wearing a dragon.
Unless it's like... It's a like really zoomed in dragon. So you only like see the side of its belly, but it's like a snowman polka dotted dragon.
That sounds like something out of a children's book.
What's your Nintendo Network ID? It's in the chat. Should be, right?
Hey, I don't know if you saw it, but
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Just Cliff, the Game Informer, the Game Informer.
Yeah, I know him.
He posted on Twitter that for Smash, if you play online, you can make room ID codes. So
Yeah.
You don't actually have to add people. Nothing wrong with adding people, by the way. Nothing wrong with having friends online for Switch. But if you don't want to, you can just make room codes and then hand out room codes and play online with peeps and subscribers and viewers and stuff.
That's really nice.
That's
Sean
neat.
posted his room code earlier on Twitter.
Oh.
So if you guys want
Who's
to...
Sean?
Chiplock.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Sean
what I was
Chiplock. I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure
sorry.
did.
So
And
if
I was
you-
like, it's like I want to fight, but I also don't want to be utterly destroyed.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to play against the voice actors from Breath of the Wild, you have a chance to go against at least one.
Does he main as Falco?
You should.
I don't know.
You should. I want to see that. That'd be great.
Perks of being friends with the voice actors and people that have worked on the games that we play.
Yeah.
I can't believe I said who's Sean.
I didn't know what you were talking about either. I was just like,
Took me
I
a
have a
moment.
friend named Tom, but...
Guys, I'm naked.
What?
I don't know what happened. Your video froze. oh, because your hat.
Oh,
I understand.
I was like really tempted. I was like, should I not go back to the Discord? I'm so confused because I was looking at something else.
Yeah. Also, hold
like,
on
I'm
1
afraid
second.
then.
When I come back, we'll start. So, whatever you need to do.
We'll just entertain all these people in the chat. Was my Acorn Drake? Was my comment deleted? Oh, wow, I can't read or write, guys. Was my comment deleted? I don't I don't know, Mr. or Mrs.
I
Drake.
have no idea.
I didn't delete any comments, but
I didn't see anything.
Ravioli meme. I approve. Fox only, final destination, no items. That's like classic.
What's classic?
Abigail. Hi, Abigail. Metroid Prime Trilogy 4.
I actually hate that song,
Metroid Prime
but
Trilogy or 4 leaked?
Trilogy.
Trilogy, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Naked. Oh my god, LOL. Well done. That's just the beginning. If only YouTube's policies and
Dawn is the beginning.
community
Yes.
guidelines.
Dawn is Wild Horse.
Oh!
Just so you know, Daniel. Dawn is Wild
Dawn is,
Horse.
sorry?
Dawn
Oh,
is
wow.
Wild Horse.
Wild Horse.
Yeah.
Uh,
The cool new
I
Patreon
like it.
has been
the name Wild Horse 64 cracks me up. I love it.
yeah.
It's great.
But
I love it.
she's the one that at the beginning of each video, her and Jonathan are the Patreon supporters that keep getting shout-outs. Technically, Jonathan isn't posting at that level, or he's not a Patreon at the level that he should be, but because he made the shirts, I did that.
Who's this Ilya Rose in the chat?
Alright, we have 50 people watching. Are we ready to start the news?
Yeah, we should probably get right into that news.
Does my shirt look backwards to you guys?
It looks normal.
Oh.
Actually,
on
you
the
know what?
YouTube, it's backwards.
Yeah, on YouTube
Yeah.
it's backwards.
But in the Discord, it's not.
Alright,
I'm backwards. My hair on the YouTube, apparently. Because when I look at my...
Mine's the way it should be.
also,
Yeah,
Ilya,
Discord,
were you able to
mine's
get in
forward.
the dock?
Yeah, I have the doc.
Okay. Daniel, while I'm doing this, if you want to promote it on the Twitters.
Oh yeah, let's tweet this.
And the Facebook page, if you don't mind. You can just
Dawn-
like copy and paste.
She said, I have horses, that's why I have that name.
My little brother has horses.
I don't, because I live in the city, but horses are, you know, I like horses, but I always am shocked every time I see one IRL.
Because they're so
at
huge.
how large they are, yeah. The horses
I feel
are
the same way
enormous.
about moose.
And I'm just like, yeah, mooses are very large as well.
I only saw it in
Tell
one.
you
Okay,
all
I
about
didn't
that.
see it in person. I saw a diagram. It was like, here's the average human, about like 5'8" or whatever, and then it showed the moose in comparison. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know they were that big.
A moose
Goodness.
is like
If you-
a Super Saiyan horse.
If you hit a moose with your car,
You
the
die.
moose will be fine. Your car is a write-off. Just
Your car will be
putting that
totaled.
out there. It's they're enormous, huge creatures.
Yeah.
This is
Let's do the Twitter.
terrifying.
We are live
Alright.
with Game Over Jesse spelled correctly.
Are we ready, guys?
Oh, I just tagged Game Explain.
What?
We're not live with Game Explain. We would get a lot of people's hopes up. Okay. Hang out. Please.
Hello, Gibbs. Hello, Banjo Bear.
Banjo Bear? Sorry, Banjo Bear. Kayla's not here. Sorry. There we go. I have promoted. Like I said, we're gonna begin in 15 minutes, and that was like an hour and a half.
Oh,
ago.
wow. Alright, so yeah, we can get through these news things kind of fast, though.
Yeah.
Alright. So the stream should still be going for everyone. We can start. We got 50 people watching. We should have started already anyways. Alright.
Yes, we should have. Are we
No, I just do this to like center.
find your center?
Yeah.
Oof.
Alright. Hello everyone, I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with us is our co-hosts, Ilya Rose and Capt Bergerson. And today we have a lot of exciting news. We're going to be talking about our thoughts on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so basically our review and thoughts of the game, how it also caused a school to be shut down, which is funny. Thanks to our friend,
Want.
yeah, thanks to our good friend Gibbs in the chat. We're going to be giving our thoughts possibly on the Game Awards if we have enough time. And then we're going to be going into a fan-made Zelda VR game, which is basically just letting you run through all of the, not all of, but a lot of the Zelda bosses in VR, which is really cool. We're going to be talking about Aonuma's newest interview on the Breath of the Wild timeline placement. We're going to be talking about the Metroid Prime trilogy leak from a certain website. Then we're going to be discussing 5 different Zelda theories and giving our thoughts on them, whether they are complete garbage or if they are amazing works of literature that should be put inside the Vatican. And
or
then
if they even qualify as theories.
yeah. So, some of them don't even
seriously.
qualify as theories. And then we're going to end it with our Zelda Mailbag, where we answer the questions sent in from fans like yourself. But if we have too many questions, like we do almost every single time, then your question may not be guaranteed to be answered. So if you would like your question to be guaranteed to be answered, you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse and support us like all of these amazing people did. There's a lot of other stuff that you get as well, not just guaranteed to have your question answered. You get a chance to join in on videos with us whenever we do podcasts like this, or we have live streams where we play games like Mario Kart or Smash Brothers. So if you want to play with us, that would be probably your best chance, unless you join the Discord. There's a bunch of other stuff too, like the discussion that we're having later on the Zelda theories, which is a video suggested by one of our Patreon supporters. So thank you, Jacob. But going over all of our amazing Patreon supporters, this is another thing that you get, shout outs at the podcast, and at certain tiers you get shout outs at the end of every single video, as well as shout outs on screen, so like a visual shout out for certain Patreon supporters. So thank you, Wildhorse64, who is in the chat right now. Thank you, Sam. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I apologize. Thank you, Ran Jamin. I don't know how to pronounce that. Again, I am sorry. Thank you, Foxo. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, David. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Blargnar. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Mandy Lee Plays, who has actually been on the podcast with us before. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Elmer. Thank you, Bootleg Boy. Thank you, Vortex. Thank you, Gus. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Link Use the Triforce. Thank you, Lunarium. Thank you, Shadow to Us. Thank you, Rusty. And thank you, Lovable Christy, who is Daniel's favorite. Oh, you're muted. Oops, there.
My mic was off. She's so lovable.
Yes. And if you have a question or something that you want answered, or a shout out, or anything during Mandili is here. Is she? I haven't seen her in the chat yet, so if she is here, that's cool. Unless that's you, hello, Ethan. If you're the one that's on as Mandili, then like if you're using an alt account or something. Anyways, thank you to all of our amazing Patreon supporters. There's even a tier where you can get awesome shirts like this sent to you, and a little cartoonish doodle things. There's a bunch of cool stuff. Go check it out. But anyways, starting off is the Smash Brothers news. So, Daniel, Ilya, did you guys know there was a school shut down because of Smash Brothers?
Apparently.
Yes, I heard about this from you 10 minutes ago, but yes.
Yeah. So
wild.
This comes from IGN forums, where it was made public, and I'm sure other websites and everyone has spoken about it since, or are going to be speaking about it over the next few days. This was sent to us by our amazing friend Gibbs on our Discord, or actually on Chublima's Discord. But he sent it to us, and it was too hilarious not to talk about. So basically, on the IGN forum, there's a video discussing it, but to make it short, apparently a young student wrote on a whiteboard, time, and this is in quotes, time to insert Smash logo here. And if you don't know, the Smash logo looks like the crosshairs of a gun, but moved down to the bottom corner. Yeah. So the teachers, the principal, whoever took this as, instead of time to smash, they took it as time to shoot up the school. And they ended up canceling school because they thought it was a warning for like a school shooting or whatever. Which, yeah. Anyways, the school sent home a letter. Sorry, what was you gonna say, Daniel?
It's just
so hard to believe.
I have a story related to this, but go on.
Yeah. So the school sent home a letter that says, let me move this over. December 5th, 2018. Dear students and parents, this letter is to communicate. Oh, I thought there was a typo there. This letter is to communicate to you the details of a rumored threat of a shooter on Friday, December 7th. First, why does it say December 5th and then they do have a typo there.
In the past.
Yeah.
What?
So the letter is dated December 5th, but then they say that it happened on December 7th. So
I think they
no.
did the person write on the whiteboard time to smash, and then under that the date of the game's
Oh,
release?
yeah.
Okay. December 7th, time to, and then the smash.
Yeah. All right.
So that's why it was sent out before.
This letter is to communicate to you the details of a rumored threat of a shooter on Friday, December 7th. First, I would communicate that the threat is nothing more than a rumor. Last Friday, there was a writing left on a classroom whiteboard that said December 7th, time to smash, which is the smash symbol, but I can't.
Right.
It's
Time
not a.
to.
Time to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really a letter or a word, so I can't say it, but yeah, just the crosshairs thing. There were some students who did not know what the symbol stood for and interpreted it as a threat of a school shooter on that day. As we would expect and encouraged, this was reported to the office as a concern. The situation was investigated in conjunction with the blank sheriff department. So they have the name of the school and the county or city that it's in blanked out. Sheriff department. The symbol was found to be a symbol for a video game that is set to be released on Friday, December 7th. The statement on the board was merely a statement of anticipation for the release of the new video game. From this, rumors began to spread and morph into bigger and bigger issues. Several offshoots of the rumor were reported to local police departments as well as to our offices. Each of those reports were thoroughly investigated and traced back to the original statement about the video game release date. With all the information presented to us, it has been determined that there was never any actual threat, just misinterpretation of the message about the video game. We appreciate the reports of suspicion and would ask that any time any of our students or parents see anything out of the ordinary, please report it to the proper authorities as was done in this. Fungus Among Us is the one who took the screenshot and posted it, saying, "This is a real document sent out to everyone that attends my school." So apparently he is a middle school or high school student that went to the school that the time to smash was released. The IGN forum just continues explaining why they thought it looked like the crosshairs of a gun, because it technically yeah, just like a boulder crosshair in the bottom. Anyways,
Yeah.
we'll be talking about this and then going into our overall review and thoughts on Smash Brothers. And again, if any of you would like to play Smash with us on our live streams, head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can guarantee that you'll be able to enter in and be a participant in our online tournament that we're going to have, where if you win, you can be crowned the Nintendo World Champion on our server, which has over 1,100 different fans of the YouTube channel. So, and then you can also just join and play with any of us who share our codes on the Discord. And my code is actually linked in the description below, but the last time I checked, I literally had like 50 different friend requests, and that was just from a couple of days. So you may be accepted if your name looks familiar. Anyways, Daniel, what are your thoughts on this? Facepalm. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so, I don't know. I guess I don't know the entirety of the situation. When you first said to me a school got shut down because of Smash Bros, my first thought was they were like, okay, everyone, it's an early dismissal today because we're all gonna go play Smash. And I was like, yes.
We wish.
But no. I guess I could kinda see how it could look like a really poorly drawn crosshair. I don't know. It strikes me as super outlandish because, like, maybe it's because I'm Canadian and these things just don't happen up here. We have no school shootings ever, you know, like nothing like that ever happens. And I don't want to like politicize this, our video game centric podcast, but it just, I guess part of me just feels like, whoa, this was a huge overreaction just because it seems so outlandish. But at the same time, it does bring to mind an incident when I was in high school where I was in a filmmaking class that I took as an elective, and one of my classmates, a good friend of mine, him and some buddies made a short film about a guy who was in prison, and they worked it in his backstory. It was said like the reason he was in prison was because he had shot up a school or whatever. But the whole like film like took place.
Gibbs says you're kind of low. Don't worry about your microphone. I'll raise your volume on my end.
Sure.
So continue.
But anyway, so the school didn't get shut down. But and also this guy who was my classmate in our film production class, but he actually made this film for a film festival. So it wasn't even school related. Like it wasn't for like a class project or anything. So it's that as well. But anyways, he made this film, and then the character was in prison for shooting up a school, and you know, it was all about like regrets and blah blah blah. It was very introspective, and he got suspended, and he had like his house and his locker searched by the police. In the film was not advocating shooting up a school. Quite the opposite, in fact, because the character in it was like in prison. So it was a really weird situation, and that's just kind of what it reminds me of. I can't imagine like if the student who drew that, what if like his life was like basically made living hell, and all his privacy was invaded and stuff like this, and he had police searching his home and everything because he drew the Smash Brothers logo at his school. You know, I don't know. It just seems like a wild situation to me. That I don't know the full scope of it, but it sounds like it blew way out of proportion for what it was. So I don't know. At the same time, probably better that, you know, they be on their toes. We don't want schools getting shot, so no one wants that either. But I don't know. It just rattling around in my brain. It's just like a really weird situation. I've talked too much. Ilya, what do you think about this?
Funny enough, I can actually, in a certain sense, relate to the people that I do think overreacted a little bit, but I also say that as someone who knows exactly what the Smash logo is. On the one hand, I would say the student is very minorly at fault, but in the sense that they just didn't realize that could have other implications. Not everyone knows what Smash is. And, you know, just the idea of think before you do something, because people can interpret things differently. Now they know. But that's not something that I would be like, oh, it's their fault. They did something wrong. On the other hand, it's unfortunate, the idea that, like, we really do have to be safe rather than sorry. Because you just don't know. I mean, like, because the what I thought of when I read that is, that's ridiculous. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but I'm the girl that in broad daylight, when there's tons of people, has my hand on my mace in my purse at all times. Because I'm constantly worried that, you know, anything a guy does around me might be bad. Because that's just the society I've grown up with. So I do kind of relate. I don't know if that makes any sense, relating that to how, like, a lot of women feel like, and some men too, like, really scared just to go out in public. Like, I don't drive at night and things like that. And sometimes a guy simply just, you know, even if they mean nothing, an older guy just touching my shoulder makes me, like, freak out. And it's like, he didn't do anything wrong, but at the same time, I'm just trying to be prepared. So I don't know. It kind of made me think of that, where it's like, no one's wrong in this situation. It just looks ridiculous because there is nothing wrong. And it's like, that's just awkward.
Yeah. No, and I definitely didn't mean it in a way where I don't think anyone necessarily did the wrong thing.
No, yeah, and that's the thing.
If there was better communication, it could have been settled before it went out of control, you know, but I don't know, like, for me, I guess there's a bit of a disconnect here, because I hear all these news stories and stuff like that about shootings and stuff happening, but it's never been close to home for me. I don't know. So for me, there's a disconnect where I guess I have a hard time with my brain coming to grips with this actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I keep saying that same sentence, but it is a weird thing. So.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah. I can understand that, because it never hit home to me until the Jacksonville shooting, which I live like 30 minutes away from that area. So I was like, oh, scary.
Yeah.
But
no one has a gun in Canada, so.
Oh, my whole family has them. We all conceal carry.
Oh, so.
Well, I haven't, because I'm too afraid.
Phil Brush in the chat says, next time the kid should remember to write under it only on Nintendo.
Yes. That's the thing too, is that, like, if this kid had maybe even written, like, it's time to smash with logo or something, like, I don't know. Or just something. I don't know. It would have been. It just seems like the weirdest giant misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder especially if people who know what Smash is were like, what? That's so weird.
I wonder if Nintendo will make a statement on this.
I doubt it. I don't think it would be necessary.
You don't think Nintendo would make a statement on a school being shut down because their game was misunderstood to be a warning for a school shooting?
I wouldn't say it directly involves Smash. I think that's just like a bystander almost.
Cliff in the chat has a great point, though. He says, I hope that with this story we don't get media articles about video game violence. That's totally the thing. Whenever something comes out like this, there was like that gaming tournament months ago where
that was the Jacksonville
one. Yeah. And it just this narrative emerges about gaming being like a violent community, and it's upsetting, because it's like that. I don't know. Anyone has the potential for violence, I guess, but at the same time, it doesn't. You know, these are just a community of people who have an interest. You know, you can't say football fans are prone to violence or whatever. You know, like, you can't. I don't know. So I agree. I hope that this is not the narrative that emerges from it, because, in all honesty, it was the opposite. It was that someone thought there was violence, but it wasn't violence because it was just a video game. So even if the video game is technically, I guess, violent in nature because everyone pummeling each other, but that is beside the point.
Yeah.
So.
But unfortunately, when it comes to news article, people are only going to post what's popular, not what's necessarily true.
This is very true.
Even if it's not the majority, they're going to be like, well, this will attract attention, which is just. That's what journalists have to do, and it's unfortunate. That's part of their job, is to get popular articles, not to spread truth.
Yeah, but I think we can move on to just our thoughts on the game, so our little review.
I will sit back and listen.
Ilya has not had the pleasure of playing the game.
Because I don't care about Smash. It looks fun, but I have no interest in it.
Yeah. So
I'm totally biased towards it, though, but...
All right, give us your overall thoughts on it. What do you love about it?
I love it all.
What do you hate about it?
I love it all. It's so good. I love Smash. Okay, so to clarify, play a lot of video games growing up, but I didn't exactly grow up in a state of financial flourish, we'll say. One of 4 children, youngest of 4 children, raised by a single mother, working as a cashier in a grocery store. We didn't have a lot of money, so what games we had, we really latched onto. And there weren't very many games that we could all play, all 4 of us boys. But then there was Smash. It was a 4-player game for the 4 brothers. We could all hunker down and play together. And I guess that made me really like love this series, because we got the first one, Smash 64, played it a lot, loved it. Melee, we put hundreds of hours into Melee together. Brawl less so, because I guess my brothers were starting to become adults and all that, and myself as well. I was in late teens, so you know, lesser with Brawl. But then Smash 4, I guess I have a lot of good memories with, because then I played it with some of my friends as an adult and with my son, right? So any way it goes, I guess Brawl, just because of the timing of it, is probably my least favorite, just because it's the one I have the least fond memories with. But now I can play online with friends. I can play with my son as well. He's actually getting decent at the game. He's found his main, his Pit. So now that he's older, he starts to get it more as well. So it's nice to see him and try and I'm like almost coaching him, like teaching him some of the techniques and stuff. And so it's great. I'm loving every minute of it. I just only wish I didn't have a day job. If I could just stay home and play Smash all day, I would. Yes, so everyone is here. My only gripe, I guess, would be I wish that Breath of the Wild Link was kind of a separate fighter instead of just replacing Link, because he's pretty different than Link has been in previous Smash games. And the lack of a tethered grab, just that, and like not having the hook shot anymore, is hugely different. I guess that was a huge tactic of mine. I would always be like, hit him with the boomerang, tethered grab, down throw, up tilt, combo upwards, use an up beach, get rid of him. That was like my like token combo, and I can't do that anymore. But young Link is in it, so he satisfies all my classic Link needs. And he actually, I think he's a lot better than he was in Melee. I have only unlocked probably a third of the characters, though, so I'm nowhere near done. And I have started into World of Light, the adventure mode, and it's a lot of fun. I kind of like that. It's very different from Subspace Emissary, and a lot of people were expecting that, but Subspace Emissary was almost like, it's a platforming game with a lot of battles in it, but also Smash wasn't meant for, like, it's not Mario, so it feels weird to be platforming. So they really cut out the fat and just got down to the point of what it should be. And I really enjoy it, although there's some of the spirits are really, really hard, actually, so I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with it, though, and I guess I would have a more view other than just me just gushing out things. If I got to like really buckle down and finish it, but from what I've played so far, into like 4 days, 3 days, 2.5 days, I guess, I'm really loving it. Though bad experience getting the game, EB Games, you didn't handle that very well. They did not. Sorry to just call them out like that. No. You had to line up just to walk in the store, and it wasn't even busy. And they just like forced you to wait outside for like, it took me an hour to go and pick up my pre-order because of the way they tried to handle. And like, what's the point of pre-ordering the game if I have to go and wait for an hour just to pick it up? It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the game itself is magnificent. You can see why Masahiro Sakurai is such a well-regarded figure in the gaming industry, because of all the finesse and the polish that he puts into this game is just abundantly clear. It's like a lot of attention to detail. I could go on forever, Jesse. You have to stop me now.
No, so I could.
Oh, Matt Fry has a really good point in the chat. I wish World of Light was up. Yes, that is my gripe as well. I love it, but I do wish it was co-op as well. I'd love to play it with someone. That would be really cool. Because Subspace Emissary was. And in other games, you could do like adventure mode or classic mode with 2-player, but not World of Light.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now go ahead, Jesse.
So there's not really anything that I could say about it other than it's really fun, and there's not too much that I could say that is bad. I would like... Okay, so this isn't... I don't think you should really fault games on something that they're not trying to be. So, for instance, you wouldn't say that Super Mario 64 is a bad game because it doesn't do multiplayer well. Because it literally has no multiplayer. Right. That's not what it's trying to do. So, and in the same way, you wouldn't call The Legend of Zelda a bad game because it has bad platforming. Because it's not meant to be a platformer. True. So,
very true.
With that said, the only thing that I could say was bad about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate would be that I would have rather seen some of the elements of the Subspace Emissary return. To where, unlike Daniel and some of the others in the chat, I was actually a fan of that. So if they could have like done a mix of that with this new single-player story mode, then I would have really liked that. But this game wasn't trying to do that, so I can't really fault it for not doing that because it's not what it was trying to be. So yeah, that all I can say is that it was fun, and there was a feature in a past game that I kind of wish this one had, but it's still really fun without it. So yeah. And in the end,
but I didn't mean to say that I don't like, or that I didn't enjoy Subspace Emissary. I just think that like it feels like they trimmed the fat a bit and they tightened it up, which feels good. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. Oh, okay. So I guess another thing is that 8-player online would be fun. I've only been able to play online with Cliff and some of his friends, and there were a few times where there was like 7 or 8 of us, and we would have to wait and then like kind of take turns. So it would have been awesome if either 8 people could just play together, or since they can't, if while 4 people were playing together, if 4 other people could start a game. That way they don't have to wait.
Oh, yeah.
Or if there is just like 6 people, then maybe have, since it can't be 8-player, if there's 6 people, have it to where 3 people are fighting against each other, and then on a second match going at the same time, the other 3 are fighting, and then each time it just randomly mixes everyone, I guess. I think Mario Kart does that. If there are more than 12 people waiting in a lobby, then it'll have a second race with the extra people on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So yeah, that's just my thing.
That's true.
Ilya, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm glad people really enjoy it because because I mean, I'm sure there are games out there that have really good build-up, really awesome hype, and to the point of almost overhyping, and then everyone's like, and then starts listing off the issues. So I'm really glad. From what I've seen, I've watched some Twitch of it streaming, I've watched some YouTube streaming of it, and I'm like, it looks like everyone's having a grand time, and that it's not like, oh, I'm just hyped because it's Ultimate. It doesn't look fake. Like, I have to be hyped because it's been overhyped. Like, I felt it was overhyped, but not in the sense of like, doesn't live up to its reputation. It was just as someone who's like, I'm not gonna get the game, so I'm sick of hearing about it. That's my perspective, not like I think like it was actually overhyped. So I'm glad to see it really lives up to that, and that everyone's like, yes, get it now. I'm like, good. I mean, even though I'm not a huge Smash fan, I have seen the work. We've all seen the work ethic of Sakurai. So could you really expect anything less?
There's a really good Did You Know Gaming video that came out about Sakurai.
Yeah. Wasn't it like today or yesterday?
Yes, it was like today, yeah.
I watched it.
It was like, good. It was
awesome,
very
dude.
Good. I think this is one of the
timing.
things too, is that like part of why I like Smash is because I can't get into a lot of other fighting games. I think the last fighting game that was not Smash that I really genuinely enjoyed was Soul Calibur 2 on the Gamecube. And every other time I get into a fighting game, I can't get into it. And I think there's a lack of accessibility that Smash has. Because with Smash, if you know the controls with one character, you can theoretically learn every other character. Their controls are the same, their movesets are different, but the controls are the same. In a lot of other fighting games, you would need to like study a character to learn how to be good with them. You can't just practice with the controls you already know and get used to that character and their nuances. You have to like literally learn their combos because they have different button presses and different controls. And there's a lack of accessibility. And you try and learn, and like my brother really likes Mortal Kombat, for one of my brothers, and then another thing is like because I don't learn, I just button mash my way to victory, and then he gets frustrated because I've won from button mashing my way through it, but it just doesn't feel like I'm actually showing any skill then, and I just don't enjoy it. Even if I do win, I just don't enjoy that victory because I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just kind of did it. So I don't know. That's one of the things I really love about Smash, and I've heard this argument where someone said that Smash is a party game but not a fighting game, but because it's a party game with fighting game mechanics, there's a bad party game too, so it just sucks all around. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
What are you trying to say?
That's the thing. Their argument is like, because Smash is like a party fighter, you basically the two main rule sets are like stock or time, right? So if you're doing a stock match, and then you have 4 people, right? 2 of them die, and then it's down to the last 2 people. Those other 2 people are no longer playing, so it's not really a party game anymore. And then, like, if you're doing a timed match, then it's a bit better, but then it's not a fighting game anymore because you don't eliminate anyone. And anyways, the argument now doesn't actually make any sense. He argues it very well, but it doesn't actually jive with me at all. So, you're fighting. It's a fighting game.
Yeah, it makes me think similar to if someone tried saying that Mario Party isn't a party game because only one person can play while the others wait.
Yeah.
Because while you're moving on the board and you're rolling the dice and choosing what you're going or where you're going or what you're doing, the 3 other people can't play. So
the thing is, this guy that made this argument, I actually know him in real life. He's not exactly, and I don't know if he knows how parties work, because in a party game that makes sense if one person plays or whatever, and then everyone has to join in for something, but then it's pretty laid back like that, right? And here's the thing, if you're at a party and then it's like, oh, it's not your turn, you have a moment to sit back, sip of your drink, eat some chips or something, chat with the person next to you. Okay, now we're doing a mini game. We all jump in, whatever. It's a party game.
I would also say, as far as the accessibility thing, as an extremely casual Smash player, the thing that I find, I mean, it's like you said about the controls. Granted, I always say granite instead of granted. Anyway,
nice counters.
Granite.
Don't take your counters for granted.
Exactly. Granted, even though I button mash for everything that is Smash, people have explained it to me, and it's my own fault. I don't take the time to learn. Anyway, one of the things that I find so accessible, and this is as someone who loves a lot of Nintendo franchises, even though I never play Smash on my own, if I'm with friends and they're like, we're going to play Smash, I'm going to be like, heck yeah, I'm down. And they'll be like, you don't even play Smash. I'm like, yeah, but I want to suck people as Kirby. That's funny. You know, it has all these characters that I know, which I feel like is another aspect of making it so accessible, is because even though you know, half the characters I don't know. Like, I'm like, I don't know Kid Icarus. I never played the one. What's the game that has like Ness and stuff
Earthbound.
in it? It is Earthbound. That's what I thought.
It is,
I never
yeah.
played Metroid or any of those, but I am aware of those. But I've played Pokemon. I've played Zelda. I've played Mario games and Luigi games. So I'm aware of all those characters. And again, I'm keep hitting it hard, but that's part of the accessibility for me is I can just jump in at any time and have fun, even though I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, oh, I just love playing as all these random characters. It's so fun, even though I don't know what I'm doing.
And there's an appeal behind that too, I think, because for me, like going into it, okay, when I first played Smash, there was a bunch of characters I knew, and I'm like, okay, I know this character, I know Link, I played Zelda, so I want to try Link out, right? And so there's something like that I connect with instantly, right? And then there's games where I'm like, who's this character? Ness? I've never heard of Ness. Okay. Oh, he's from this game Earthbound. Okay. I want to. And then I read about him. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Then I play Earthbound. I'm like, wow, I just found a game that I love. Boom. There you go. And that's how Fire Emblem became a thing as well in North America.
That's true.
So this is a true story.
It's a good marketing strategy.
Very good. Yeah. And you know what? I've always known Castlevania existed, but Simon and Smash actually just makes me want to go and play it. Like it makes me want to go and try it out because I see all these little things like what his moves are, and I'm like, okay, I kind of recognize how that looks from what I've seen of Castlevania, so it makes me want to go back and try it. So it works backwards too, backwards compatible. Well, I guess it was the same thing with Ness because Smash came out after Earthbound, but that's just further to my point, I guess. So. Sorry, Jesse, looks like you're just done with
No, I was thinking, if you ever do play Castlevania, Symphony of the Night is the one that everyone says is the best in the series. So if you do get the idea that you want to play it, that would probably be the one. And I think there's one version, I forgot which, that when you bought it, it also, as a bonus, came with, like, the first Castlevania game.
Oh, neat.
But that's on, like, PlayStation or something. But anyways, you guys ready to go to the next one?
It's supposed to be really good.
Yes, but I will be right back.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's all talk bad about Hylian.
I drank my tea really, really fast, per usual.
I like the chat right now is all over this.
Yeah. I couldn't remember my Discord password for the other day. Yeah, I really want to play Kid Icarus because of Smash.
Yes, that as well. Also made by Sakurai.
Yeah.
Kid Icarus Uprising. So.
And Coder B.
Smash is just a melting pot for video games. Yes. All things, and I habitually want to say all things Nintendo, but it's not just Nintendo anymore. Ain't it good? Oh, we've been draped.
Yeah.
We've been just.
I wonder why she didn't just turn her camera off.
I don't know.
Anyways.
I don't know.
But I don't have a 3DS for Uprising. Oh, yeah. There are other Kid Icarus games, though. Uprising...
Other than the original? And Uprising?
Is it just the original?
I don't know anymore.
That's interesting. I know with... There was the interview that released up with Sakurai about how Kid Icarus Uprising was so unique to the 3DS that he doesn't see them bringing it to the Nintendo Switch. So, and he also said that they were working on the game with an early version of the 3DS dev kit, and they could have there was some stuff that they would have wanted to do, but they weren't able to because the dev kits weren't as powerful as the 3DS when it eventually came out.
Oof.
So then they were only able to make like certain last minute changes to improve certain things.
Oof. That's upsetting.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like better than overdoing it and then you can't do anything with it. Also, there was 3 Kid Icarus games. So Kid Icarus in 1986.
I appeared.
On the NES. Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters in 1991 on Game Boy. And then Kid Icarus Uprising in 2012 on the 3DS. 3 games spread across 1986, 1991, and then 2012. It's like, wow.
It's insane.
I'm sorry. The captions on YouTube didn't know what Kid Icarus was, so it said, it was. Oh, I wish I could remember what it said. It was like Kitty Christian for some reason, and I'm like,
good try,
YouTube. Like, oh, it's trying to say Kid Icarus, and it failed.
GG, YouTube.
It's funny.
Oh yeah, there's a Nintendo Life article about that. Master Eye Sakurai rules out a modern port of Kid Icarus Uprising.
Oh, now it says Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus. Maybe I was slurring it too much.
Yeah. Daniel, would you like to take the Metroid news?
Sure, let's just open that bad boy right up. I know people were asking for it. They were like,
yeah, a lot of people are asking about it. They're like, what leak? What leak?
Oh, it's a leaky leak. Better call the plumber to get your faucet fixed for this leak, guys.
Call Mario.
And if it was Metroid Prime 4, I could have just put a 4 there. But the word was trilogy, and that's too long of a word to fit with all of the other words that I had. So, yeah. Touché. That's why it wasn't trilogy, but if it was 4, it would have just been one symbol, so it wouldn't have taken up any extra space.
Oh, wow. Do you want a new intro for this? Do you want me to intro this?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast. What episode are we on? 64. Oh my goodness. Hylian Gamecast Nintendo 64 edition. I am the damn Daniel Captburgerson, as you may know me as well. I'm joined by, she is the Geek Apprentice. You probably know her as Ilya Rose. I don't know which side of me she's on. He is the king of this channel. He's the one that brought us all together. You know him as Game Over Jesse. Say hello.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about the rumor. No, it wasn't a rumor. The leak. There was a leak on a Swedish retailer website called iNet, or is that it? iNet? Is that the website name? Jeez, what is this website called? About blank, according to my browser. Oh boy. Anyways, this Swedish retailer had an oopsie. It leaked a listing for Metroid Prime Trilogy, slated to come out on Nintendo Switch. It had a placeholder cover art that's just the Metroid Prime Trilogy cover with a red box in the corner. That's supposed to be the Nintendo Switch part of it, I guess. And I can't read Swedish, so I don't know what the rest of the listing says. But this article from allgamers.com reads that rumors surrounding the Metroid Prime series continue to circulate, with a mysterious listing from Swedish retailer hinting at the possibility of Metroid Prime Trilogy coming to Switch. Others have speculated that Metroid Prime 4 may even get a release date announcement following the Metroid Prime Trilogy reveal. Based on information from iNet, it is iNet, okay, phew. And outlets like Variety, the Metroid Prime Trilogy could be announced at the next Nintendo Direct event. It'll have an estimated release date of February of 2019 and will contain Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So basically, the games you would expect to be in the Metroid Prime Trilogy. And in our opinion, the idea of Metroid Prime Trilogy launching before Prime 4 isn't exactly far-fetched. At the Game Awards last year, Nintendo shared a plan to port Bayonetta 1 and 2 to Nintendo Switch before announcing Bayonetta 3. Unfortunately, the Game Awards wrapped up and no Metroid news was shared. Basically, no Nintendo news was shared, actually.
Yeah.
Although it's still possible the reveal could happen at a Nintendo Direct in early 2019. Will a Metroid Prime Trilogy and Metroid Prime reveal happen in 2019? We're keeping our fingers crossed based on the leaks, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, that's the gist of the article. And by the gist of it, I mean most of the article verbatim. So my intro lacked a quick spin. Oh, I'm sorry, J2. I let you down. Next time. Next time. But what do you guys have words about this?
I think it's kind of an obvious thing that they'll do. They've had Mario collections. They've had Zelda collections. They haven't had...
Before Breath of the Wild, they had Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD come out. Not a trilogy pack, but still re-releases.
Just the HD remakes. Yeah. On the This would also be interesting if the Skyward Sword HD, I don't know what it would, the hint, I guess you could call it, because it wouldn't be a leak or rumor, it would just be the hint from Aonuma. If it ends up being true, then I think Skyward Sword and Metroid Prime Trilogy were the first two, and maybe the only two that I'm aware of, Nintendo Wii games that they released as digital download games on the Wii U. So
that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And man, when that went on sale, it was like
$10.
$10.
Yeah, because it was 20.
Yeah.
They were $20, but they were half
For
off
3
for like the
games.
first.
$10 for 3 AAA, like really like
That's insane.
5-star, like very well regarded games. And I was kicking myself for not buying it, because at first I was like, I don't need to buy that. I already have all 3 of those games. And then later I was like, why didn't I buy it?
Yeah.
It was $10.
Yeah, so it would be interesting to see like those 2 original Wii U, Wii ports, I guess. Yeah, because they would have been more as ports, because they weren't remakes or remasters, because they weren't in HD. They just ran the same that they would on a Wii. In fact, I think when you did boot them up, it would automatically take you from the Wii U mode to the Wii U's Wii mode. And then it would play it. But it would still look better than it would on the Nintendo Wii, because instead of RGB or component cables, it would use HDMI, which has a slightly better signal. So it would have looked a little bit better, but not enough to like make it look amazing by comparison. And then,
though, I hope that there would be all the frills, and that they would do a bit of upscaling, maybe some new textures and stuff, because I remember seeing, I might be remembering this wrong, but there was a Game Explained video when Metroid Prime Trilogy came out, and they mentioned they did like basically a side-by-side comparison of the first Prime game, basically doing a graphics comparison, and for some reason the trilogy version of Metroid Prime 1 was worse looking than the original GameCube version, because there was like some of the textures were fuzzier, and there was like less particle effects, and there was like, when you would morph ball roll through the water in one area, there was no ripple effects in the trilogy version for some reason, and there was water ripple effects in the original, and things like weird little things like that. And I think maybe they were just cutting corners to like get it all 3 games onto one disc or something, but it just feels weird to me that they'd re-release the game but like make it look worse. I don't know.
An inferior
That's one of the things
version.
people love about and that's one of the things people love about the Prime games, is there's like so much detail, like a flash of light and you can see Samus's eyes like reflect in the visor briefly, or the water droplets over the visor, like things like that. All these like little detail, or when you have the X-ray scope and you can actually see her hand under under the arm cannon, you can see like her skeletal hands, which is creepy when I say it out loud, but it's just like those little bits of attention to detail, and like for some reason it was lacking in the re-release, which is weird. But so I would hope that they would do some upscaling for it instead if they brought it to Switch, like they did with Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD. Not necessarily overshadow everything with bloom lighting, but you know, some nice textures and stuff would be nice. Thank you. Sorry, Jesse. I'm interrupting you again.
No, it's
We're
fine.
switching roles this time.
We all interrupt. It's fine. But with Metroid Prime Trilogy, I think it would be perfect for. Okay, so whenever they showed off the first trailer, I think no, it wasn't the first trailer. Whenever they showed off the first tease trailer thing for Zelda Wii U, that was also in the same Nintendo Direct. They also mentioned they were confirmed they were working on Wind Waker HD. So with them working on Metroid Prime 4, maybe they can give us a trailer for it, but then be like, but in the meantime, here's the remake of these past games, just as they did with Breath of the Wild, where because Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was taking so long, they gave us Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. So if they did the same with Metroid Prime 4 and Metroid Prime Trilogy, that would be awesome. But yeah, I think the leak is... I don't know if this leak is true or not, but I would say eventually we would get Metroid Prime Trilogy in HD anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I would like them to give it modern controls, as well as keeping the motion control.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Like, if they made it to play like a traditional, normal first-person shooter or whatever, I think that would be cool.
It's funny going back, and a few years ago I went back and played through the first 2 Prime games, and then I was like, that's too much Metroid Prime, and I didn't end up playing the 3rd one, but it's weird going back to the controls. It's a bit of an adjustment, because I guess we're too used to either using gyro or having 2 thumbsticks, and it doesn't work that way with the first 2 Prime games on GameCube, because the weapon select is mapped to the C-stick. So it feels a little tankish the way Samus moves, but then once you get used to it, it's actually like really good controls, because every button on the GameCube controller does something. And not very many games can say that every button does something different. There's a lot of games where it's just like either, even Smash, the X and Y button, they do the same thing. A lot of Wii U games, like Tropical Freeze, New Super Mario Bros., all those, like a lot of the buttons are interchangeable, or X and Y do the same thing, and A and B do the same thing. And just not very many games where you have such like bust selection of actions. I don't know, like that's weird to say that. And that was something the Wii version, Metroid Prime 3, kind of lacked, I think, a little bit. But then you had the motion controls, which were actually some of the best use of the Wii's motion control. On the consoles. Like, it wasn't just waggle. You actually had to aim and stuff. So I'd say like Metroid Prime 3 and Skyward Sword would be probably the best examples of good motion controls on the Switch. Not the Switch, sorry, the Wii. The Wii. Oh, I know my Nintembos.
No, you're fine. But Ilya, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you think it could be happening? It is happening? Not happening?
that face.
I hope for the sake of Metroid fans that it is. Because my brothers have played Metroid, but I never did.
Yeah.
You should try it. It's real good.
I'm not a huge fan of side-scrolling. Well, they're not all side-scrolling, though, are they?
Metroid Prime is not.
Yeah, Metroid Prime isn't.
That's what I thought.
It's,
but it's
3D.
first person, isn't it?
It is, but the thing is,
First
it's not
person
like...
makes me dizzy.
It's not like really... Like, a lot of first-person shooter games are very, like, high-paced, like, very fast-paced, high-action games. And what I like about the Prime games is it's, unlike the 2D Metroid games, it is actually very slow-paced. And there's just a lot of just taking things in, reading the lore of the world.
There's a lot of puzzle mystery solving, I feel.
Yeah. So
like Zelda.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe that's why I like Metroid so much, because I like Zelda so much. But it's actually a pretty I would say comfortably paced game. Not to say it's boring, of course, either, because it's very engaging with everything there is to do. But you're not like running at a half fast pace, and you're not getting like dizzy like Cloverfield. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh, okay. It was a movie, and it was like all handheld camera the whole movie. And that's the thing, is like you're sitting in the theater and you're like, oh, I'm dizzy, because it's like the screen's so huge and it's like so shaky. Yeah, so it's not like that. So.
Yeah, to be fair, the only 2 first-person shooter games I've played was like a little bit of Halo with one of my brothers. Didn't know what was going on, and GoldenEye 007 GoldenEye.
Classic.
Which is a very classic game, and a lot of people love it. But especially when we would do 4-player, my mom and I would just be like,
Hasn't aged all that well, but that's an unpopular opinion. But
no.
All right.
But if I ever get the chance to try it for free, I will.
Yeah. I think we can go on to the next news story.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So
good. I talk too much, so let's do that.
No.
This is the Daniel show, everybody. No.
Hey, it would be me if we were talking about singers.
Touche. Very touche.
Like the one time that Kayla and I got to talk about Animal Crossing, that could have gone on for hours with her and I. So.
Yeah. We can do the Breath of the Wild one and then skip the VR thing.
Yeah.
Because that's old. I put that in there before I was able to find other real news.
It's in the title of the stream.
Oh yeah.
Sure. We could.
Yeah,
Maybe we
some
should
people have been asking
do it
about
really,
it.
really fast.
Okay.
Really, really
There
fast.
was a fan-made VR of Zelda. Bosses.
Boom. Done.
Yeah. All right. So I'll do this one then. We can do it really fast. All right. Hello everyone, I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse. Here with us is Ilya and Daniel. Today we're going to be talking about this really awesome project made by a fan, which is Zelda VR. This comes from vrfocus.com, where they say, a link to the virtual future. Zelda boss battles in VR. A fan project recreates classic Zelda boss battles by using Unreal Engine 4. Sorry, I was looking at the bottom title and then the top title after I looked at the camera and looked back, so it caught me off guard. Anyways, Rebecca writes, many video game fans were disappointed that Nintendo have chosen to sit out of the modern resurgence in virtual reality VR technology. I don't think that's quite accurate. Xbox doesn't really have VR. PlayStation's the only one that does, and then not many people even bought the PlayStation VR. No. So I don't think PlayStation fans are the market for it, but maybe that's just me, like, yeah. Anyways,
my mouth off talking smack. I don't know.
But you played a cool VR game at E3. So
it was cool.
Yeah.
But it was a puzzle game, and I think that's why I like puzzles. So
yeah. All right. So this says, though many commentators pointed out to the Virtual Boy debacle as the reason why, that hasn't stopped ambitious fans from experimenting to see what big Nintendo properties might look like if transferred into VR, as a new fan project that brings The Legend of Zelda into VR demonstrates. Before we get into this, I want to say there is an older project when VR first started to become popular, to where people took Ocarina of Time and made it into VR. That was really cool. And it wasn't even, you can have, like, most people think that just because something is VR that it has to be first person, but that's not true. They could use the VR to give, like, you're literally behind the back of the character looking at them, and it gives everything a lot more 3D depth, similar to what the 3DS does. But anyways, because I actually, I prefer when the game does normal VR with the first-person view really well. But when I was looking at the videos of the Ocarina of Time VR, it looked really great as well. So, like, it doesn't have to be with the eyes. That just makes it look like you're there. But you can use it in the same way people watch certain 3D movies in VR, just so that it gives the movie a lot more depth. But anyways, Legend of Zelda fan and independent developer known online as Aklar_45, I'm actually subscribed to him. I didn't know about this project he was making, so that's interesting, has utilized Unreal Engine 4 to transfer some of the most memorable boss battles in the Legend of Zelda history into VR. Though there are now several instances of third-person VR titles. Okay, yeah, it's going over this as well. Most people believe that VR works best when in first person, with the player effectively taking the role of the protagonist. The developer has also taken his approach, showing how a first-person viewpoint could be used in the fight against Zelda villains. 2. The currently available proof-of-concept videos show a battle against the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess enemy, the giant skeleton Star-Lord, while another shows a fight against the most famous villain of the series, Ganondorf himself. The video portrays the player grabbing the iconic Master Sword and Shield to engage in melee combat before switching out to a bow and arrow for ranged combat. Incoming projectiles can be deflected with a sword swing, or the shield can be raised to simply absorb them. The developer has used Unreal Engine 4 to carefully recreate the environments as they appeared in the original titles, transposed into VR and using modern lighting and effects, giving new weight to things such as collapsing dungeon floors, there's a typo there, due to the first-person perspective. Sadly, since this is an unlicensed fan project, there isn't much chance of this ever getting a release as an official Nintendo product. That said, VR Focus will be right there to report and celebrate if Nintendo ever joins the VR scene. The first thing I want to say about this doesn't have anything to do with VR. It has everything to do with Unreal Engine. There's a lot of people that see these Unreal Engine fan projects and they instantly think, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Link looks amazing. Link looks better than he ever has before. Nintendo should make a new Zelda game or a remake using the Unreal Engine so that it'll look like this. So 90% of the time when you look at a Unreal Engine fan project remaking a Zelda game, the character models are not created using Unreal Engine. They are just ported over from the Hyrule Warriors character models. They aren't created using the Unreal Engine assets. And with that said, any engine, whether it's Unreal Engine or not, people just use Unreal Engine 4 because you can literally download it for free and it's easy to learn with. That's why so many fan projects use Unreal Engine 4. But it is also a great engine, which is why other games use it as well, that are professionally made. But saying that I want an Ocarina of Time Unreal Engine 4 remake, and then explaining why Unreal Engine 4 would be like, they don't really understand how the engines work. So you can take almost any engine and make the games look whichever way that you want. One example of this is, aside from Unreal Engine itself, where there are games that look like complete junk, which is kind of bad to say, but there are. Some of the first Unreal Engine 4 games actually looked horribly bad, but they were like independent indie games, and then that they probably spent like a week or two making. And then the bigger games like Arkham Knight. Yes, Arkham Knight was the one that uses Unreal Engine 4. And then the other Arkham games were actually ported to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and everything using the Unreal Engine 4, because the originals were made in Unreal Engine 3. And the crazy thing is, if you look at the Unreal Engine 3 version, even running on the PlayStation 3, which is a lot weaker than the PlayStation 4, the Unreal Engine 3 version of the game looks better than the Unreal Engine 4 version on the game running on the new console, which is crazy. But GameXplain has a video comparison, or not GameXplain, Digital Foundry, yes, that's it. But I think there was a GameXplain video that commented on it as well. So the engine kind of has stuff to do. Like, the better the engine is, the better the game can run and everything. But one example from Nintendo is Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Super Mario 64, and a lot of other games all ran on the same engine. And then Wind Waker, which looks like basically a cartoon come to life, was created using that exact same engine, just a more advanced version. And then Twilight Princess was made using the Wind Waker engine, which instead of being cartoony is realistic. So yeah, it always kind of irritates me when I see people being like, oh, Nintendo should remake blah 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 using Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah. And the thing is, an engine does not mean art style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not the same thing.
Yeah. You can find photorealistic games made with Unreal Engine 4, or demos that look like the person there is completely real, but even those demos, they wouldn't even be able to run on like the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. So that would be something that would be ran on like the PlayStation 6 or 7 in like 15 years. But for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and even the Nintendo Switch, there are realistic games, or games that use the Unreal Engine to look realistic. But then there are also Unreal Engine games that use the engine to look like a cartoon. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say, which had nothing to do with the VR. I just wanted to clear up that misconception of people that argue and debate about why, like, I've seen people say that Breath of the Wild sucks because it doesn't use Unreal Engine 4, because they look at the remakes or the fan projects of like Ocarina of Time and be like, oh, but they should have made Breath of the Wild using Unreal Engine 4, not this. And it's like they don't understand that if they would have used Unreal Engine 4, the game would have taken a lot longer to come out than it did, and it would have not looked like it would have. They would have used the engine to probably make the game look exactly the same, because as Daniel said, art style has nothing to do with the engine. Yeah, it's Nintendo used the engine that they did because they basically created it from the ground up to do exactly what they wanted to do with the game. And that's why it was the best engine, which is why you see everyone else like creating their own engines. Like Square Enix created the Luminous engine to work on their Final Fantasy games because they needed an engine to do exactly what they needed it to do, which Unreal Engine 4 is great at doing a lot of things, but it doesn't do everything. There was also, what was it? CryEngine is another engine that has been used to make games like Need for Speed or Battlefield that look realistic, but it's also been used to make games like Rise of Lyric and Sonic Lost Worlds, I think, which are cel-shaded looking games or cartoony games. So any engine can be taken to make realistic or cartoony looking games. And the reason that they praise the Unreal Engine Zelda fan projects are because of how great Link looks. And Link only looks great because they are using the models that Nintendo and Team Ninja made for Hyrule Warriors. Like, almost none of them use their own models of Link. They just use the different models from that game.
Yes.
All right. Anyways, Daniel, hi. Ilya, hello.
Hi.
What do you guys have to say?
I think it's really funny that it says the iconic Master Sword and shield. You know, shield. That was just funny.
Oh yeah, because they
in the article, but you know, the iconic shield.
Yeah.
But
not the Hylian shield or the Master Shield.
No. But
we got a donation.
Kinda neat. Oh,
$2 from Help says thoughts on Hero Shade game Dark Souls style. That would be really cool. I
don't have a lot of thoughts on it because I haven't
haven't
played Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But
I
would like a Hero Shade game. That would be neat, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of Dark Souls, but I would like to see Nintendo's take on something like that looks using the hero. Like, it's odd. I would rather it look like Link, not the Hero Shade. If they did something to where sometimes he would turn into the Hero Shade and sometimes he would be Link, kind of like when he goes back and forth between Wolf Link and the Hero Shade, or Wolf Link and Link, I mean. So if they did something like that to where he's in like some weird demon world similar to like the Dark World where like evil has taken over, and once he goes there it turns him into a skeleton, I could see something like that. And then if they wanted to make it more combat focused instead of puzzle focused, and then leave like they did that with Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, one was puzzle focused, one was fighting focused or combat focused. So if they did something like that in a Zelda game to where like everything in the Dark World is more combat focused and you play as like a Stalfos or whatever, and then the Light World is more puzzle focused, I think that would be interesting. But other than that, I don't have much to say on it. You guys? No? All right. Daniel. Okay, so the VR stuff. Hi.
VR's cool.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the whole thing with the engine stuff, like especially with the whole, well, they should have made Breath of the Wild and Unreal 4. They custom made it for an engine, like custom made specifically to make that game work properly, and it looks gorgeous for it.
The physics engines, they didn't even make. The physics engine, like the reason everything move, they used the Havoc engine. So,
but yeah, I mean, like, the thing is with VR is it's cool. I did get to try that cool VR game mentioned before, but the thing is there's that level of accessibility. If I want to quickly sit down and play a game for a little while, do I want to do so much setup? Get my headset on, plug in a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't think VR is at the place right now where I want my big Nintendo games to be coming out as VR games. I think if they're going to do VR, they need to. And then, sorry?
I said people
poke me? Oh, yes. Yeah, that happened while we were at E3. I was testing this VR game, and Gibbs kept poking me.
And me.
But I couldn't see where he was, so
everyone.
I would be like... everyone started poking me, and I just started, like, trying to swat them away, but I can't.
That is so funny.
It was terrible, but it was funny. It was very funny. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's, VR is not at the place I'd like it to be where I could, like, just play a game
Cliff says.
In VR, you know. Cliff said, I tried Wind Waker in VR on the Rift.
VR needs to be wireless.
Yes, VR needs to be wireless in order to be mainstream. Maybe the Switch Pro will solve that, if there is a Switch Pro.
The Nintendo Switch, there was the patent with the VR mode, and then there were like hackers that like dug into the code, and apparently it still has a VR mode in it, but Nintendo just doesn't use it. But plus it would be kind of heavy if you just like put it on your face. Kind of. Are you gonna like keep the... Because it judges movements by the Joy-Cons. So, like, maybe you would have to have the Joy-Cons on it so that it would know when you're moving.
Strap one to the back.
Yeah. Or maybe the case that you put it on would, like, connect, and then that would have the movement stuff in it. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
Ilya, would you play VR Zelda?
I would try it, but kind of like what Daniel said, it's an accessibility thing. I want to be able to sit down and play it. I mean, obviously I know for any with motion controls like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess Wii or HD, if you choose to, you do move around a little bit, but at the moment I like sitting down to play video games. It's a winding down type thing. I don't know. I would try it, but it's not something that I'm like, I want everything VR now. It would make me dizzy, possibly. Or it would scare me. I'm terrified already enough as it is. I'm not one that, even now, even though I can easily parry with my shield and defeat a guardian like that, the moment I hear that piano music, I'm like, what am I doing? Where do I go? Am I okay? So, I would try it, but I have no, like, oh, I want VR.
Yeah, I definitely would try it just because there's a Zelda game. Not because, oh, there's a VR game.
Exactly.
Yeah, so...
There's a difference.
Right.
Yes.
Ilya, would you like to take the timeline news?
Sure.
I think this will be another short one.
Okay. So, from Nintendo Everything, we have an article that was posted a couple weeks ago titled, Aonuma says Nintendo will never reveal Zelda Wild's timeline placement. It's a very lengthy title. But anyway, it gets to the point. Where Breath of the Wild sits specifically in the Zelda timeline is something that has been a big question since the game's release last March. More like March and a half and another year. But anyway, however, series producer Eiji Aonuma has indicated that Nintendo will never place it in the chronological timeline. In the newly translated Zelda Breath of the Wild Creating a Champion book, Aonuma explained that people were enjoying imagining the story that emerged from the fragmental imagery we were providing. If Nintendo were to say where Breath of the Wild sits in the timeline, then there would be a definitive story, and it would eliminate the room for imagination, which wouldn't be as fun. And then it goes on to say about, like, well, I'll just read it, since I didn't read it earlier. Aonuma stated the following. The final thing I'd like to convey to all of our players is that the video games, not just Zelda, can go much, much farther. We got a lot of responses from adult players who said they felt the same way playing this game as they did when they used to be hooked on video games when they were younger. We made this game with the intention of returning to our roots, so the response from players about feeling the same as they did when they were young is promising. Since Nintendo Switch is portable, I hope they will be able to engage deeply with the game in a fresh new way too. In books like the recently released The Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia, we revealed where each Zelda game fell in the timeline and how stories related, but we didn't do that for Breath of the Wild. There's a reason for that. With this game, we saw just how many players were playing in their own way and had those reactions I just mentioned. We realized that people were enjoying imagining the story that emerged from the fragmental imagery we were providing. I'll skip to the next paragraph because I already said that. We want players to be able to continue having fun imagining this world even after they are finished with the game. So this time we decided that we would avoid making clarifications. I hope that everyone can find their own answer in their own way, which still, I mean, they did still say it's at the end of the timeline, but and to that I would say our theory, which, I mean, I say ours, but I first heard it from Daniel and then I helped with the video on it, voicing it. I'm like, I would still say that holds true. It's at the end, and it is all three, or any of the three.
Yeah. So this statement, the interesting thing about this is that much like Triforce Heroes, they released Triforce Heroes saying that it was a side game that did not take place anywhere in the timeline. It was just its own side multiplayer game. About a week or two after it launched, I think it was Aonuma was in an interview, and he said, oh, it's a direct sequel to A Link Between Worlds. It takes place directly after A Link Between Worlds, and you are also playing with the exact same Link as A Link Between Worlds. So
he just looks completely different now.
Yeah. So with this, the interesting thing here is that even in the, we'll get to what Ilya said in just a second, but even in this, he says that they've seen how much fun other people were having when they were playing the game, and they didn't want to restrict that by placing it in the timeline. So that means he didn't get the idea of not having it in the timeline until the game was already made, which doesn't make too much sense. Because that would mean up until that point, from what he is saying, that they had an idea of where it might be in the timeline, but then after seeing people having fun with it, they were like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't put it in the timeline. But then, after this interview happened, because this was a statement made before the book originally released in Japan, because it was a statement that they put inside the book. So it's likely the statement itself was probably like a month or two even before the book itself was released. That way they could like edit everything. They'd have time to edit everything down and add the pictures in and actually send the book off to be published. But with this, so after this statement was made, Nintendo updated their official website and actually put a location of where Breath of the Wild would be placed, which is at the end of all three of the timelines. And then even after he did that, there was another statement where he said that it's basically up to the players to decide. And like with each of the three timelines, so much time has passed that basically no matter what happens, Breath of the Wild is like a constant, like it always ends up happening. So
yeah,
in that 10,000 years between Breath of the Wild and Zelda 2, or Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess, or Breath of the Wild and Spirit Tracks, there are so many things that could happen within that 10,000 years, because all of the other Zelda games fit within, I would say, like 7,000 to 8,000 years is like all of the other Zelda games, because each game is thought to be most of the time just a few hundred years after each other. So if you have the entire Zelda timeline within like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years, imagine what you could have from the end of one game and 10,000 years afterwards. So like events could happen to where like literally the exact same events from all three timelines end up just happening in the other timelines, because like we don't know what could happen. Like after Twilight Princess, something could happen to make the world flood like it did in Wind Waker. We just don't know, because it doesn't really say what happened within that 10,000 years. So, yeah, it's. I guess
if I can address something in the chat.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Grady. Maybe it's Grady. I'm going to say Grady like Brady. Grady Todd says, if you don't know the timeline, go by the cap of the wild. The band on the cap is only in one timeline. And I did mention this in the chat as well. I responded. But that's a pretty... I know you're referring to Matt Pat's video about the timeline video where he mentions that. It's a weak argument, though, because...
Very weak.
It's a stripe on one of the outfits you can get in the game.
Yeah.
And also, there's so many other references to other games that just taking into account one stripe on one outfit is weak. You could also say the champion's tunic is blue, and the only time that he canonically wears a blue outfit predominantly is Wind Waker when he wears his pajamas on the second playthrough. So there's that connection there. So it could only be that timeline.
Well, it's even at the beginning of the first playthrough as well. But also,
that's true. There you go.
There are interviews with Aonuma, Miyamoto, and others that have worked on Zelda games that says that the way they decide the way that Link looks for each game, or that the way that areas look in each of the games aren't based off of lore. It's just what they think would be fun for that game.
And
so,
furthers that is like they Aonuma said when they first revealed Link's look, people were like, well, does Link wear green? Whatever. And he says, I don't want you hung up on Link's outfit because that is not important to the game.
No.
Or, you know, that's to paraphrase. But basically, it's like people shouldn't be focused so much on what defines Link's outfit or what defines Link by his clothes, because that's not really important when it comes down to it. Then when you play the game, guess what? It's actually not important that he doesn't wear green. I don't miss it. So, I don't know. Like, for me, that's the thing is you could also just get the other costumes and then make the same argument, because you can wear the Twilight Princess tunic and you could say, well, now he's got chainmail under his tunic and there's only one timeline where that happened. So I think it was a reference. Like, when they put it in, it's a reference to the old Zelda games or that timeline. That does not make it a canonical certainty that that's where it takes place. That said, if you look on the official Nintendo website and you pull down that downfall timeline, you will see Breath of the Wild listed there. But, as we mentioned before, if you go to any of them, the official Nintendo website has it listed at the end of all three timelines. So, I'm sorry to crush everyone's dreams. I hate to be a negative person who just puts down what other people say, but sometimes I just...
And
you can't just take something as trivial as that and ignore all other evidence anywhere. You know?
I would even say 90% of the videos that is on the Game Theory channel are wrong, because they like to use evidence that will help support their theories while ignoring any evidence at all that goes against it. And the reason that video or the theories on my channel and other channels, like you see on HNK or Commonwealth Realm and stuff, is because whenever we make our theories, we include everything to support it, as well as everything that would kind of go against it, which is, there's a big example of that on the newest video that Ilya and I were working on about Agatha from Twilight Princess. I guess the video's coming out soon enough that I don't really have to stream offline. What? Oh, now it's back online. That's weird.
It went down, it's back up.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But the video not only has facts supporting it, but in the video I literally also say that a lot of people also just believe that Agatha, I was almost going to say Ilya is crazy, but they believe that Agatha...
I am crazy.
Yeah, they believe that Agatha is just crazy, and that in her head, she thinks it is true, that she does have special abilities, and she is magical, and she can talk to bugs, which is why she sent out all of the messages to all of the bugs to come to her ball, or whatever. So
weird.
Yeah, whether or not she does have abilities, in her own head, she still believes that she does. She could believe that she does because she actually, in fact, does. Just like Link believes in Twilight Princess, he can turn into a wolf. If you said, like, if a normal person said that to you, you would be like, you are crazy. But he can turn into a wolf. No one else in the game really sees him turn into a wolf because
you're not allowed to.
Yeah, Midna will literally come up and tell you not to. So
people are watching.
Yeah. So if Link goes around and tells people in the game that he can turn into a wolf, they'll just be like, you are crazy, get out of here. So with this girl telling people she can talk to bugs, who knows? Crazier things have happened. Fish could turn into birds. So
that's
magical.
That's true.
That's true.
Magical
or
little.
Fish can draw a map for you. They're fish cartographers.
Yeah, there are
magical
little kids that never age that also happen to live in a magical forest who are followed 24/7 by a magical fairy. That if they did not have that fairy, they would turn into skeletons. Those magical.
None of them are siblings. They all have one thing in common, and their dad is a talking tree.
Yeah, and those magical little kids who are made from flesh end up turning into wooden stick people. So
yep, little stubs.
Crazier things have happened.
Fish in Wind Waker draw you the maps of the islands, but how do they draw maps of the islands when the land is the only part that they can't go on?
Maybe because... So my thought is that I imagine some of the fish, especially the more intelligent talking fish that we see, were also friends with the Zora. Like, they could just be seen as, like, different species. Like, you could look at, like, a monkey or an orangutan or a gorilla. Like, they're all kind of the same.
Oh, now we're getting into Donkey Kong lore, huh?
Yeah. So in this... so in... in Wind Waker, you could... Or in the Zelda series, you could say that... well, this is a smart talking fish that is the race of Azora, and this other thing is a smart talking fish that is in the race of another thing. So it could be similar. So they're just like, hey cousin, now that, you know, we have feet and we can walk on land, here's what this land looks like. So then they draw you the map. Or they give the information about the map.
You thought about this way more than I did.
Yeah. I literally only thought of it just now, so...
so maybe same amount as I did. Yeah.
But anyways, what were we talking about before, though?
Zelda theories.
The placement, which...
Oh, yeah.
What I was going to say on that is there's a reason this makes perfect sense for Aonuma to say it's wherever you want it to be. And just kind of just putting it at the end. First of all, it gives more credit to the idea that it's a dragon break. But the thing is,
dragon break.
He's basic by putting it at the end and saying it's wherever you want it to be. He's also at the same time saying it's all three. So when people try to say, oh, well, it's definitely the downfall. Oh, it's definitely child. Oh, it's definitely adult. It's like, first of all, we have Aonuma saying it's wherever you want it to be. Second of all, you cannot say it's only one of them. Why? Because if you can give all the evidence of the world to show me that it's in the adult timeline, and I will give you all the evidence of the world to prove that it's in the downfall timeline, and at the same time that it's in the child timeline.
Yeah.
They purposely made this game to have Easter eggs from all three timelines. You cannot argue for just one. You can't, because no matter what you give me for one timeline, I can give you something for a different timeline. That's why it's perfect that Aonuma said, you know what, it's wherever you want it to be because it has things from all three. It's at the end, so therefore it's all three.
The interesting thing is also him saying that it takes place 10,000 years after any of the other games and just having you pick wherever you want it to be goes against other things that he said as well, because him saying like, if you just take the one quote by itself where he says that it's wherever you want it to be, that goes directly against everything else that he said as well, because before the game came out there were a few facts that he did give us, where one, I think two of these were from one interview, and another one was from other interviews. I don't know if it was Game Informer, but it was all around the Breath of the Wild E3 time, so it was before Game Informer had their long interview with him and Miyamoto. But he said that the game takes place long after Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In a timeline where they have had mini battles with Ganondorf, or Ganon. Someone asked, or I don't know if they asked it, but they were like, well, this game has the Deku Tree and Koroks, and you find sea salt. So this game definitely takes place after Wind Waker, right? And Aonuma said that the story of the game has nothing to do and is not connected at all to the Wind Waker. That the Deku Tree and the Koroks are only in the game because they just happen to have the character models from Wind Waker, which they had just remade while working on Breath of the Wild. And they just copied and pasted them all over and tweaked them a bit. So that would save time.
Something as well with that, I always found that the Korok argument weak, because for me it's like, just because you only have seen the Koroks in that timeline does not mean that they would necessarily only in that timeline.
Yeah.
It just means we haven't seen them. Because there's like, the Koroks, when you find them in Breath of the Wild, are surprised that a Hylian can see them. Like the first Korok you find, if you restart your game over, he'll be like, whoa, you can see me?
Yeah.
Surprised us. Same with Hestu as well. Surprised that you can see him.
Yeah. And there's
so that doesn't, they could have been there this whole time and just no one knew about him. Kokiri could still be in Twilight Princess, but Link can't see them there. There's some food for thought.
Yeah.
And also, when it comes to timeline stuff, well, obviously, whatever the directors say, that's what it is. Or whatever, like, the most recent thing is that they say. At the same time, they only do this for us. This is not something that they planned. Skyward Sword was planned. And I do know that with some of the other games, they did plan to a degree some of it. But at this point, it's kind of like, well, people are talking about it, and people keep asking me about it. I'm going to say this. Because they can say whatever the heck they want on it.
Yeah.
In the chat there, okay, for one thing as well first, just to go back to real quick what I was saying to Grady, Tom, as well. This is not to say that I think your theory about it being in the Downfall timeline is wrong. Because again, the quote Anuma said, it's up to the fans, whatever. If you look on the official Nintendo website, it does show it's there. What I was saying about that is, do not just take one piece of evidence and disregard everything else. You cannot blind yourself that way.
Yeah.
Side note, or maybe sidelining the conversation in the chat, Ryan Pagan says, I imagine all the Zelda games as being like a story being told from one person to another, etc., etc. This is what I call the literal legend interpretation, as in it's literally a legend of Zelda. No. No. I decline your offer, Ryan, because you cannot say...
Javier in the chat also posted a quote that's wrong.
Oh, Javier, let's see... where?
He says that Miyamoto did state that they never thought about a timeline when making the Zelda games. Yeah,
also wrong, because Miyamoto said, like, before releases of games, he would say when they took place. Even Zelda 1, okay, Zelda 2, okay, Link to the Past, he explicitly says, this is a prequel. And then when Link's Awakening, okay, this is a sequel. And then Ocarina of Time came out, he's like, this is a prequel. Like, he explicitly would say as they're coming out. And Ryan, about the literal legend interpretation, you cannot say that these games are retellings of the same story when they reference each other and say that this is a legend about this thing and happened and it is the other game. It can't be if they sequentially occur and make deliberate reference to each other occurring.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to say that. If you do think that, it implies to me that you, and I don't want to put you down, of course, I don't want to be mean, but that maybe you're not looking into it, or you're willfully deciding to ignore these references to the other games.
Yeah, so there are two things.
Not to be mean, I'm so sorry.
There are the I would say, okay, so there are the normal fans, and like the people who say something that is wrong. There are I would say, two different sides to that. One are the normal, casual fans that just may not know all of the facts. While the other is the casual fan or even the hardcore fan that, despite having the information shown to them, they just like the idea so much that even though they know they're wrong, they can't accept they're wrong. So they're being, in my words, an idiot and still trying to debate against it, even though you literally show them an interview where Aonuma says they are wrong.
Yeah. And
like the
again,
theories
like,
that we've seen.
Frankly,
sorry.
They contradict themselves all the time.
It's true. Nintendo does go back on their word a lot, but to be honest, if you just play the games and you're like, this is how I enjoy playing the games, and I don't want to think about the timeline, I don't care about it, whatever. Okay, sure, but and this is not what you were doing, Ryan, because you said I like to think of it this way, but if people try and convince you that it is one way,
that all the games take place on their own and are unconnected.
Yeah, I've had people post on Facebook comments sections on like Zelda Dungeon articles. The worst place to engage on the internet in any sort of discussion, by the way. And they are determined to convince everybody that interpretation of theirs is fact.
Yeah.
And nothing else, despite the fact that Nintendo says this and the games say this and this and this and this to connect them. And they're like, no, because I've always thought about this when I was 8 years old. It's just like, you need to stop. You need to just accept it. Like, that's how you want to play it? Sure, fine. But don't tell me I'm wrong. So, yes. Sorry, I'm getting worked up. I love you, Ryan. I don't know you, but...
As Daniel... And they also commented back in the chat, and they were like, oh, didn't think about that. Makes sense.
Yes.
But...
So they may have been more of a casual gamer. Also, someone who clearly has the wrong number is messaging me, and they're really mad at me, apparently.
Oh, wow.
No, they're really mad at they're really mad at someone named John.
Okay, nice.
What did John do?
I'm not John. I don't
It's Jonathan in the chat. The guy that
Jonathan, what did you do?
So the easiest way for you, if you do have someone who is just misinformed, whether they are just misinformed and don't know better, or if they are idiots who just refuse to believe despite having the facts shown to them, the easiest way to prove them wrong when they say that there was never a Zelda timeline, that it was just something fans made up, or if they say that Aonuma and Miyamoto never intended for them to be a timeline. They had the very first game, and then the next game they had was literally called Zelda 2. Immediately creating a timeline that Zelda 2 takes place after Zelda 1.
Yeah.
And then even after that, they had A Link to the Past, which was named A Link to the Past because it was meant to be a prequel to the other two games. So then, adding on to the timeline, you have Zelda 3, Zelda 1, and then Zelda 2. And then they have the fourth Zelda game, Link's Awakening, which is a sequel to A Link to the Past. Adding to the same timeline, because then you have Zelda 3, Zelda 4, Zelda 1, Zelda 2. And then Zelda 5, Ocarina of Time, comes out, and they make it a prequel to all of the other games. Once again, adding on to the timeline. So from the very beginning, there was always a timeline. And if you tell someone and you explain it like we have to someone and they still don't believe you, you can go and show them the interviews where they have said this. And if they still don't believe you, you can just decide they're an idiot and move on and don't waste your time, because they're one of the people that understand and know they are wrong. They just do not want to admit to being wrong.
And some people really just do not care about that aspect. Like,
and if you don't, that's fine.
Whenever I bring it to him, he's like, I don't care. I just want to play the game. And it's like, okay. And he knows I'm the freak that enjoys the lore.
Yeah.
All right.
It's funny because my brother started texting me once. Like he missed out on a bunch of Zelda games. Played like Ocarina of Time. He played Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, kind of fell off with that. And then he got back into Breath of the Wild, and he starts like texting me. He's like, "Hey, I got a question about this." And then like, and I'd like write him like a freaking essay back about Zelda lore, and he's like, "Jesus, what have I done?" But I was gonna bring up something. Oh yes, so a good. This is a very old video because it came out about the time of Twilight Princess, or a bit after Twilight Princess. But the originator of gaming on the internet as a real community and viable video making idea, the angry video game nerd James Rolfe made a video titled "The Zelda Timeline Makes No Effing Sense." And ironically, in it, he actually explains the Zelda timeline pretty comprehensively. There's not actually a lot of anger in the video. He does it up a little bit here and there, but forced, to be honest. But in that video, he mentions all these interviews. He's explaining it through like an order of release and then placing it into the timeline in order of release. And he builds the timeline up to that point and explains it very comprehensively. And he kind of forces the rage. But the thing is, like, in that video, he outlines all these interviews where Miyamoto's saying like, "Oh, this is the prequel to this and this game featuring the ancestors of the Link and Zelda from this game." And that like, and I would suggest, it's a very funny video, so I would maybe recommend going and check it out. It's a very old video. Again, it's probably, I'm pretty sure it came out around the time of Twilight Princess, so it's probably like a 10 to 12-year-old video now. But for me, that was the moment it really clicked in my head that like, okay, these games connect and they connect well, and I want to know more about it. So there's the origination of Daniel's craziness as well. But go check that out after this podcast is done, because we still want to retain your viewership.
Also, one thing that I do want to point out before anyone makes this mistake, I think this is a casual gamer mistake. Please stop saying that the adult timeline is Ocarina of Time Link who stayed as an adult.
Oh,
that does not exist.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't exist.
No, because he gets sent back, and then Wind Waker happens because he didn't stay.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened is Zelda sent him back and was like,
"Yeah." So from Zelda's point of view, going forward, she's still here. The world still moves from there,
and it's still
Wind Waker happens without Link. And then, Cliff just posted video link. Is this it, Cliff? Did you find it? He found it.
Yeah.
The legend. He found it. Thank you, Cliff. Thanks for finding that. That is an old video. It's really funny and worth watching. But he does bring up a lot of these interviews and stuff like that. I might be missing. I haven't watched it in years. So maybe I should go back and watch it. But thank you, Cliff.
Yeah.
Finding that. You're my hero.
With what Ilya was explaining, the easiest way to say it is, it's not the timeline where Link stays as an adult. It's the timeline where Link was an adult, because he technically was an adult. Technically, he wouldn't still be an adult because he just does not exist at all there, but he was an adult, and then he
ironically the adult timeline
is where he is still a child.
Yeah,
the adult timeline is the next game that happens is Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks, and those Links are all still a child. And then in the child timeline, following Majora's Mask, there's Twilight Princess, where Link is an adult. So
pretty much
how you can remember it is that it's all bass-ackwards, and the adult timeline is where Link is a child, and the child timeline is where Link is an adult. So there's that one for you guys.
Yeah. All right, I guess we can move on to the next thing.
Thanks, Nintendo.
It's like, this is just an example of, like, maybe that was their intentions, like, at the time they were creating this book, but then afterwards, in the same way that in this, before, he said that it didn't place in the timeline, or they didn't want to put it in the timeline. But then the same with Triforce Heroes, they said they didn't want to place it in the timeline. But then afterwards, they ended up saying, yes, it is in the timeline. In fact, here's where it's at. And in the same way with Breath of the Wild, after this statement was made, Aonuma came back out and was like, yeah, this is where it's at. It's just after long after all of the other games.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep laughing. This person is really mad at someone.
What are they saying?
Okay,
Did you
just a
reply
quick
back and
tangent.
say that it wasn't?
Here's the creepy part. They messaged me in September, and this message came back today. They messaged me in September, I'm at the bridge, goodbye, John. Which at first I was like, is this, like, what I think it is? Is this someone that is going to jump, and even though I'm the wrong number, I need to help them? I don't know. So I messaged back, my name's not John, I think you have the wrong number.
They're like, what the hell, John?
I know, and they never messaged back. But then all of a sudden, just now, I get a message from this number. Then why did you talk to me all day? What was the point? And I wrote back, you have the wrong number with the emoji that's going like this. And then they
My wife's favorite emoji, by the way.
I love that emoji. It's so me. I'm always like, And now they said, have a good, miserable life you've always had and always. I hope your life continues of pain and death and misery. And I just wrote back, and I hope you find the correct number of the person you're apparently so upset with. Best of luck. I'm like, I'm not John. I actually don't have a miserable life. I'm pretty blessed. I really actually want to message back. Actually, I reneged that. I hope you don't find their number. I feel bad for them.
Poor John.
What is wrong?
Poor John. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, that's why I keep laughing, because I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I looked up the number. It's like in Virginia or something. I know people in Virginia, but I'm not John.
Just out of curiosity, I don't
What?
know my
It's a
American
state.
geography very. No, I know it's a state, but where geographically? I don't know my
It's
American
like 7
geography
hours.
very well.
It's like 7-8 hours north of Florida.
Okay, so Florida's on the
We're the little peninsula.
East Coast. It's at the East Coast.
We're the peninsula. We're that little edge that sticks out at the end.
Virginia's where the president is.
Yes. Pennsylvania Avenue.
But isn't the White House? The White House is not in Virginia.
Yeah.
Washington D.C. Yeah.
Is that? Oh, it's right. No, it's not in. It is. Oh,
So there's
I don't know my American
Yeah, there's-
It's
geography.
not in Washington.
There is the-
Washington is like super close to you.
Yeah.
Washington is
Yeah,
complete
Washington State,
northwest.
right? Is different than Washington.
There is a more important.
Just like New York and New York are different, for some reason. Is that
Okay.
right? New York.
New York.
State.
There's New York. New York City
New York.
is in New York State.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess Quebec is the same way because it's Quebec City.
Yeah. And then
In the
like there's
province.
Oklahoma.
We
and
also have
Oklahoma
West
City.
Virginia.
Yeah.
You also have too many states. That's why I can't keep track. We have,
We have
like
50.
we have a dozen. That's it. That's how many provinces we have.
Even
It's
worse.
so much easier to remember.
We have 50 states and then like a dozen or so provinces and other areas that we technically own,
Right.
but
like
they just didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to make another flag, and they just like the even number of 50. So
like-
they
Yeah, there's
just
too many stars. It's
that's
Yeah.
no
hard to do
stars.
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and then of course
Oh.
the 13 stripes to represent the 13 colonies.
Matt Fries. This is confusing to Daniel. Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Hey, it'd
let's
be
move
the
on.
same if we went to Canada.
Let's move on
We'd
to
be like, "What?"
the next one, right?
You probably don't know where New Brunswick is, so I'm
Oh,
good.
that's
I have a
also
friend from Brunswick, Ohio.
Not the same.
okay. So
That's old Brunswick.
what I was going to
Sorry,
say
Jesse, what are
earlier-
we doing now?
I was going to say, let's move on to the next one. But first, while you were talking about Washington and Washington D.C., so I guess technically Washington is just Washington, and then Washington D.C. would be like Washington District of Columbia, is what D.C. stands for, I imagine.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? District of
It's
Columbia?
really confusing.
But then
Because the province of it is BC, which is British Columbia, but we're on the West Coast. West Coast.
So,
Yep.
adding to that, while there is what many people would consider to be the most important building in America, in Washington, D.C.,
Wow.
the state of Washington has an even more important building, which is the Nintendo headquarters.
In Redmond.
Yes.
Redmond, Washington. See, I know my Nintendo geography.
Yeah. So,
My brother was born in Washington, Seattle.
nice.
It's like a 4-hour drive from BC. You'd think I would know more about these things, but
Adding on to that, the United States of America, if we compare it to like 99% of all of the other countries, almost every single country, like Canada, Mexico, England, whatever, like they have a clear name. Like they are named, they have a name, and then all of the states or whatever, provinces, whatever's inside of it is also named. But with the United States, it doesn't have like an overarching connective name. It's just these 50 different independent states, and then it's called the United States of America. So like there isn't, like it gives the name as like a group of all of these different states, to whereas there's no actual name for the country. It's just called the United States, as opposed to giving it an actual name. So very, very, very lazy naming for me.
Jonathan! Super chatted us.
Come for Zelda.
Come for Zelda, stay for geography.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next thing.
Much love, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Which is the theory thing, I guess. We can try to get through this really fast.
Yeah.
No guarantees.
Because a lot of them are dumb, and we have to express our distaste when something's dumb.
Yeah.
We love dumb things.
So the next everyone's going to be sort of like a top 5 list of Zelda theories. So, all right, so 152.
Cliff said United Provinces of Canada. Oof, that hurts my brain.
Yeah, it would be as if that's what it was called.
True.
If it was the United Provinces of America, that would be the same.
That's true. It's our provinces are. We have fewer and they're way easier to remember. They're also a lot larger. And we have a far smaller population than the States, but technically a larger geographical landmass, and so we just have a lot of like wilderness.
What's also confusing for us is like we have Alaska and Texas and California, which are giant states, and then we have places like Rhode Island and Massachusetts that were like you can't even have their name on the picture in the map. You have to put it on a separate stick and then put a line pointing to it.
And then Hawaii's just like
we're over there.
Way over.
The Hawaiian Islands.
Just bye. So
this has been geography with the
Hylian.
Yes.
Do you want to take this one, Ilya? I'm sure you remember.
Sure.
You don't have to say the exact same thing we did yesterday, but just something similar to introduce. Like,
I
hey,
can actually.
Some of these theories are stupid. Some of these theories are good.
Yeah. So I'm actually just gonna find the thing you sent me.
All right.
And just paraphrase it.
Yeah. And just say like it's part 3. Technically. So.
Come on, where is
Just Cliff watches the CBC Marketplace. Of all the Canadian broadcasting you could have chosen to watch, you choose CBC Marketplace? Cliff?
What? Okay.
Of all the... Why, Cliff? Anyways.
So this is a new intro?
Huh?
Sure.
Is this a new intro?
Do it up.
Oh no, actually I can just like edit on the intro that you did for yesterday. So you can just start like number 16 or 15, whatever.
That'll make life easier.
Yeah.
But for everyone else watching, like basically we're just this is like a list of 20 theories, but there's actually only 19. 7 is an ad or nothing at all. And they're not very good. There's going to be other videos where we talk about the other ones. So we're starting with 10.
Yeah.
Which is confirmed. Well, some of them are confirmed and some of them should be confirmed, and you'll see that some of these aren't even theories. Some of these, it's not that they need to be confirmed, they just are logic, you know? Anyway.
It says if
it's weird.
I made the joke on the first 2 parts of the video to where it says if they said Zelda theory confirmed, Link wears masks in Majora's Mask, or Zelda theory confirmed, Twilight Princess has cats. So
that's a good theory.
Yeah. So for me, I label theories as details or mysteries or plot points, whatever, that the games, either one individual game or several games, if not all of them, can come together to allude to, or different things or details are found within a certain game that allude to a bigger thing that is left unexplained. And then you can come up with a theory to connect all of those details to come up with something that makes sense and cannot be debunked. If it technically, like, a theory is easily defined as an educated guess. If there are things to go against it, it's not a theory because it's not educated. It's just an idea that someone has, which is not a theory. Like the Link is dead or Termina isn't real is not a theory because interviews and everything go against it. So, yeah.
Okay. So, number 10 is confirmed split timelines. Before the almighty Hyrule Historia graced us with knowledge, the split timelines were only a theory. Oh gods, there were a lot of theories about split timelines before they were confirmed. There were There were anti-timeliners who believed the franchise was just using stock characters to create different multiverse stories. Split timeline debate was skyrocketing in March 2009 after a YouTuber, Ocarina Hero 10, uploaded a video arguing for a split timeline due to time paradoxes. Apparently, in the early 2000s, Nintendo of America posted a timeline. However, the timeline was vetoed by the Japanese game developers when they realized that they wanted to keep the timeline a secret for a long time. So fans continued to scramble for years to create a timeline that would make sense. The developers probably loved the passion and ingenuity of the fandom's imaginations that they rewarded us with the confirmation of split timelines. So this is like real old news that this is confirmed. Just saying.
Yeah, like this is one that I would say was a theory, like split timeline or singular timeline. So it's not one of the things that, as I mentioned, is like, oh, Zelda theory confirmed there are cats in Twilight Princess. No, this is something that, although is common sense now, at one point it was a theory. So although it was confirmed a long time ago, it still does stay on. It could be on a theory list because it once was an actual theory. So yeah. Daniel, do you have any thoughts?
Guilty. I didn't actually. Okay, I never made videos about it at that time, but I definitely had a wall covered in sticky notes, and that's a real thing, and it's upsetting. But yes. There was two, I cannot remember their usernames, but there was two YouTubers I followed specifically. They were my favorite about the timeline debate, and it was actually one of them from each side of the debate. So there was one splittist and one linearist. And they would basically make rebuttal videos to each other. So one would make a video, the other would make a video in rebuttal to that, make a really good argument. The other would make a counter argument, a really good one too. Then the other would make a video, and so they would make these videos to each other, and they were I think what I liked about them, they would address each other and be very respectful. They're like, oh yeah, this guy, he made a really good video about this. Now, I don't agree with him, but you should check his video out. It was really great. And they were like very civil, despite the fact that they agreed with each other on none of their arguments, but they were very civilized, and it was great. And it was a great time, and I was definitely on the splittist side of things, just because Wind Waker and Twilight Princess both exist, but they are both games that occur. But then, yeah, I mean, it's Matt Fry says, Daniel, I think you told us this before. Yeah, I probably did. I probably have mentioned this.
I don't even remember you mentioning this.
Oh, maybe I haven't. Maybe I did on one of my streams. I don't know. I don't remember, Matt. I'm sorry, Matt Fry, but either way, yeah, it was a great time for us to speculate. We were all having a grand old time, and I was scribbling sticky notes and everything. And I actually was making plans to make a video about my timeline theory, which did not include the third timeline with the downfall timeline, because I don't think anyone thought of that but Nintendo. And I think I was basically placing that whole timeline in with the child timeline, but I don't remember all the details of how. and then Hyrule Historia came out, and I was like, okay, I can't make this video anymore because it's wrong.
Right, Dan, take the next one.
Yes, but it was a grand old time, everybody. I thought we were going to do this quick, and then I proved myself wrong. Number 9, hey? Should be true. Should be true. Masks in Majora's Mask are... the word masks sounds really weird now. Masks in Majora's Mask are souls.
Yeah.
You don't say.
This is another one.
Are you sure?
This is another one that's like Zelda theory confirmed. You can find a dog in Hylian Castletown. Or Hyrule Castletown.
This was never a theory because it's just a thing that happened.
Yeah, like finding dogs in Hyrule Castletown.
Exactly. The article says, I'll make this theory very easy to understand. You find a departed person, play a song, then boom, you have a mask that looks just like them. With a deal like that going on, how can the masks not be souls? You just explained what happens in the game, and the reason it's not a theory, it's just true. The song you play is called the Song of Healing, which was taught to you by the Happy Mask Salesman, who says that the song heals troubled spirits. You can play for spirits of the dead, and then they leave, and you are given a mask. Some could say it's just a gift, but blah, blah. Anyways, point is, okay, there are characters in the game who are ghosts. They are dead people. And then you play the song, and they're like, you've appeased my soul, have my mask, and you can channel my spirit, blah, blah. And then suddenly, you're a Goron, and everyone thinks you're that particular Goron because the mask contains his soul, you see. And the game doesn't hide that as some kind of secret. So it's just a thing that happens.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They write, should be true.
But
okay? And then they end it with, not really a theory.
So they know.
Oh,
so why are they writing
it? They even, the last paragraph here, Majora's Mask may have the most theories just because of how dark the story and characters are. Some think Link is also departed. The Termina has the 5 stages of grief, though. That's just symbolism, not really a theory. So they're saying not really a theory about that. So, again, that's not really a theory because it is also a thing that's not true. Because actually, the creators of the game, Alanuma, has said that if you play through Majora's Mask and think that each area represents a certain single emotion, like the ones the 5 stages of grief are based off of, then you are literally playing the game wrong. Because they said they have... this isn't just me saying it either, it's them saying it. So don't get mad at me, get mad at the people that made the game. Because they said that they tried putting so many... I don't know what the best way to describe it is. They put so many different emotions in each of the areas that they purposefully wanted each individual area to evoke so many different emotions, not just one single emotion.
It's more complex than just the 5 stages of grief.
Yes.
It's far more complex.
Because anger in the swamp, for example, like that one, grief, anger is not the only emotion you'll find in this. If you just talk to one NPC in that whole area, anger is what you'll find because the Deku King is angry. But you'll also find the Deku Butler is going
really sad.
He's a lot of sorrow happening there. You also find the monkey is full of fear because he's tied up and about to be publicly executed. You'll find there's other ones. I can't think of all of them right now. The hunger, I guess. There's the bean
the bean eater,
the guy who eats beans. But anyways, the point is, there's not just anger. There's so many things.
Yeah, just
in
like
every area. It's such a robust game. That's why it's so good. That's why people tout it as being so good. Because there's so much going on there, and a lot of it is
side quests, everything. Just
yeah, and you can in all of the different areas. Maybe not Icona because there's only like a couple of different people there, but even with just those. Okay, well no, because there are like there's the king, right? His soldiers that you talk to. there's the ghost that teaches you the song. Who is very angry himself because he tells you, or no, maybe he's apologetic. I forgot which it is. One of them is like mad at the other, and then one's whatever.
One's sad, and he teaches you the Song of Storms, and then you meet the other composer brother. And I think flat. Maybe I have it backwards, but there's flat and sharp.
Yeah.
Musical references. One teaches you the Song of Storms, and you meet the other one who's super pissed. Plays what he calls the Song of Death, which we never get to learn. Hey, Link should learn that song. And then he starts playing that song, and you just start dying because it's the Song of Death, I guess. And then you play him the Song of Healing, and then he sort of gets over his stuff, and he's like, yeah, sorry about that, dude. My brother's feeling bad. Okay, I'll go work things out with him, I guess. And even there, that's even just that one character. There's not just one emotion.
Yeah.
Hylian Luke pointed out, don't forget embarrassment from Tingle's father.
Yeah, but that's another thing. Is just we're just gonna leave it with again, not our words, but the people who literally created the game, who understand it more than anyone. If you only attribute each of the single emotions or think that it is based off of the 5 stages of grief, then you are playing the game wrong. Again, from the creators themselves. They are literally telling you you are playing the game wrong. You do not understand it if you only think there is just the one emotion towards each. And then, with the 5 stages of grief itself, getting completely off the topic of Zelda, there was an interview a while back where the person who actually created the theory of the 5 stages of grief, or 5 stages, I don't know, whatever. Some people, 5 stages of death, 5 stages of grief. I think I misspoke earlier. But yes, the 5 stages of grief. The person who literally came up with it, not the person who came up with the original Zelda theory about the 5 stages of grief, but just the person who, the real world 5 stages of grief, said that they wished they had never created it. Because when someone experiences, did you say Bob Ross? Kubler-Ross, I think is the name of the person. Yeah, but Ross 5 stages of model of grief or something like that. And they were like, I wish I hadn't come up with that because it's not really true. But there's an interview that was making the rounds a while back. I thought you said Bob Ross at first. Like he came up with Bob Ross, like, the painter.
Like I don't think he did that.
The 5 stages of being a wholesome person.
Yeah. So basically, they said that because they had met so many different people that, like, after experiencing a tragedy or a death in their family or something, like a divorce, whatever it is that would cause them to get upset, everyone, like every individual person, handles it in their own unique way. Someone at first may be incredibly mad, someone at first may be incredibly depressed, someone may be incredibly happy, but it's just them, like, not exactly processing it the right way, like, so their emotions are just getting confused and they seem happy or excited even though deep down they're just depressed. So, like, everyone handles it in their own way. Like, you may mix up all of the different emotions, you may skip all of them, you may skip 1 or 2 of them, you may have them in the exact reverse. So not only is the theory for Zelda dumb, and the people who made the game literally said no, that's not right, but the person who came up with the original real world theory said, no, that's stupid, I wish I wouldn't have done it. Didn't really say it was stupid, but...
And the guy who made the videos that really popularized that theory also said he doesn't believe it, so...
Yeah, but then he continues putting out stuff.
Yes.
He's a big name YouTuber, and he has to be able to make money.
Yeah, there's literally interviews with him where he said that he doesn't really make videos on theories that he personally believes. He just makes videos of theories that he thinks are cool ideas. But even that itself, it's not a cool idea if the game that you're talking about easily disproves the theory.
And again, he never says that's a game fact.
Yeah.
He always says it's a theory.
Yeah.
It's a theory,
But,
and he stands by that. So
yeah. So that theory,
Yeah.
the theory itself, and someone saying, like him making the video about it, saying it's a cool theory, is like someone coming up with a theory that there are 2 different links in Ocarina of Time. That like when the game itself disproves what you're trying to say, you can't say it's a theory, and you can't even say it's a cool idea, because if the game itself disproves it, then no, it would be a cool idea if you came up with something that the game doesn't disprove. So, don't be stupid, people, is the final thing that I'm saying. Don't be stupid. No.
So number 8,
yeah.
Jesse.
Number 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should be true.
This one.
Alka, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's the problem with when people create their own words or names for games that does not have voice acting, and then they have like a million different ways to pronounce it that no one really knows the way of. Anyways, Oka were once people/pets. According to legends, Hyrule was made by the Hylians, who, as we all know, are the closest race to the gods, but also, according to legend, long ago there was a race even closer to the gods, and some say these creatures made the Hylians. When they created the people of Hylia, they simultaneously created a new capital, a city that floated up in the heavens, Shad from Twilight Princess. The writer here says...
That's a mistranslation, by the way.
Yeah, my...
if you didn't know that, guys.
The person... What? Sorry?
That is what it says in the English version of the game, but that is a mistranslation. The Japanese version of the game doesn't say that the Uka, however you say it, created the Hylians. It says they helped create Hyrule in the Japanese version.
Interesting.
So it's a mistranslation. Oops. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
Because in the game coming right after this, we find out that... Actually, no, in Ocarina of Time tells us, and then Skyward Sword once again tells us. So literally every game except this one tells us that... And this is a character that's telling us this. So it's like, he doesn't know all of the facts. He's just giving you what he thinks he knows. Unlike when the Deku Tree or whoever tells you something, like they themselves are a god or a deity, so they would know. Anyways, we know for a fact the goddesses created the Hylians, the world, and everyone. So, like, the Hylians didn't create Hyrule. They may have founded the kingdom of Hyrule and, like, built the castle and everything and started the kingdom, but even before that, they had Hyrule and the Hylians. The person that wrote this says, "My favorite theory is that these little buggers were once a race of highly evolved people, but years of isolation made them devolve into these weird birds. Even better, they may be pets of the real Uka, since obviously they can't build, but there are bird perches everywhere in their sky city. These little freaks of nature certainly do give me a lot of questions."
That pet part makes sense because nothing in the city and the sky is built for creatures that size. They're built for, like, human-sized people.
Yeah.
Even the store.
Even the store.
It's like, why do they even have a store if no one...
It's funny, the dialogue for that store's shopkeeper is hilarious. If you read it, all the item descriptions, he's like, why do we have arrows? Uka can't use bows. And things like that. He's like, why did I order this stock? We can't use these. And it's the funniest thing. It's like that's self-referential, like self-aware humor. I love it.
It's hilarious, like almost breaking the fourth wall, but almost.
I'm actually
not quite, but
after the... So we have the Agatha video coming out. I have a really long video on something else that I don't want to talk about just yet. But after that, I want to talk about... I have another video written about the city in the sky. So in a few weeks, maybe that'll be out. But it covers everything, like every little teeny tiny detail that I could find. Talking about, like, explaining what it is, how it came to be, and everything. All of the different evolutions that it had, everything. Yeah, so I think this is should be true. I don't...
Just so as long as it's not the theory... that I've heard where people are saying that it's Hylian stayed in the sky
and turned into birds.
Red with the loft
wings.
Oh
no, that's
the worst theory I have ever heard of. Yes, it is. I regret bringing it up, but someone once told me that on the internet, and I wanted to pierce my own ears with sewing needles and drain brain fluid out of my ears so I wouldn't think about it any longer.
First of all,
and here I am.
Birds are like their companion pet. Like, that's like breeding with your dog.
Yeah.
Or your horse, who is also your dog.
Except it makes even less sense than that, because Hylians are mammals, and birds lay eggs.
Yeah.
Plot thickens.
But then you have the Breath of the Wild stuff with the Zora and the humans.
Yeah, but that's not gonna work.
Also gross, by the
Anyways,
way.
It starts with should be true.
It should.
So it says should be true here. But I think with the game itself and what we've learned from like Hyrule Historian, Zelda Encyclopedia, I think this is one where you can actually say they are wrong here. It's not should be true, it is true, because they say they were either people that lived there or pets of the people that lived there. And I think that is, if the game tells you, and then the book kind of tells you again, even though it is a mistranslation, whether either way, Shad would be correct here with this theory, because if he's wrong, like the mistranslation or whatever, and they were just the pets or whatever of the people that lived there, or if the translation is right and they were the original people that lived there, then either way, for this, the way they have this theory worded, it would be confirmed, because they were either pets of or the people who originally lived there. So yes, it would be confirmed, not should be true. Right?
Yep.
Yes, sorry, I was just addressing the chat here.
Yeah.
Hylian, Luke, and Javier were having a really neat discussion, which I kind of want to bring up. But I think I'm gonna just take it and pop it into our mailbag, because we should probably get through this list. But I just want to let you guys know that I really like what that discussion is coming up with. I'm really liking these ideas here.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna copy paste to that and put it in our Google Doc. And when we do the mailbag part of it, I'm just gonna pretend it was a question you asked us, a really detailed question, and we're going to talk about it. Cool? Cool.
Which is going to be, one, guys? Well, it's actually going to be coming up next, because what these people did at The Gamer is they put a top 20 list, but it's really a top 19 list, so they could place another, so they could place yet another ad in here, because... And then all of the other theories that they have in here that aren't really theories, they're either things that are easily debunked, which doesn't make a theory, or they are things that are completely obvious in the game. Again, Twilight Princess being a sequel of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. So, with that being said, all of this would have realistically just been a top 5 list, but they ended up making up a bunch of padding or filler to make it a top 20 list. They even placed an ad as one of the numbers so that it would be a top 20 list. Almost as if they just went to like Zelda Wiki or other list videos and literally just copied and pasted a mix of what other things had so that they could have their own top 20. Another thing that suggests this is in one of these sections, they spell Gerudo right every single time. Yeah. But then in another section, they spell Gerudo wrong every single time. As if they went to 2 different sites that had lists that were written by 2 different people, one who spelled it right, one who spelled it wrong, and then just copied and pasted what both of them had. And that's how they come up with certain words misspelled. Like every single time it's in this section, it is misspelled. But then right below it, there's one where it is spelled correctly every single time. And if there was an actual editor on this website, then he would have looked at that and be like, hey, why do you have these things misspelled? Or spelled differently? So anyways, Daniel, do you want to take number 6? Since number 7 is just an ad. and it doesn't even show up as an ad for Hylia, apparently.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's just blank for me.
Oh, this is great. This is another one that's basically like, hi, Zelda theory confirmed. There are dragons in the Zelda series. Like, yes, literally every single main home console Zelda game has dragons.
So,
maybe not
confirmed.
Zelda 3.
Confirmed. Skyward Sword took place prior to Ocarina of Time.
Never a theory.
So here's the problem: is when you come up with a theory, it's maybe an idea you have about something that's not confirmed. So you can't just say something that happens and then call it a theory. And I get that they're saying, no, this is confirmed. It really did happen. But the problem was that was never a secret. Hyrule Historia came out alongside Skyward Sword, and in all the interviews and everything, they were saying that it was a prequel and that it was a thing that happened before. And then why are you saying this? Because anyways, what the article...
Yeah. Before the game ever came out, Nintendo promoted it and discussed it being a prequel to every other game in the series. So,
baggy pants are a thing of the past. That's all you gotta remember. And it was, the article reads, it says, once again, this was only a theory before Hyrule Historia came into being. Actually, it was only a theory before anything about the game existed.
Because it was confirmed before the game was.
Therefore, it was never a theory.
It was just a part of the game. But thanks, article author person. Skyward Sword is actually, what do you know? It's the first game in the timeline, making it all 3 timelines since it's before the split in the timeline thing. Did you know that Ocarina of Time also was not the first game in the timeline before Skyward Sword occurred? Because there's other games before that as well, but the person writing this article never paid attention to Zeldas before that happened, so they didn't care about that. Before Hyrule Historia confirmed that it was the first game, though, fans already had their suspicions, and by suspicions, I mean I did no research writing this, and we already knew that. Since Skyward Sword was about Link's Master Sword, it only made sense that it predated Ocarina of Time, because you see, a game where you make something, where you literally create an item, and then it shows up in a different game and it is already created, you see, it has to make sense that this game came first, right? Because...
Don't forget Alabama
I don't want to read
and Miyamoto literally telling you, like, before the game ever came out, before people even watched a trailer of the game, they said they wanted to make a prequel.
I don't want to read this article anymore.
I know.
Luckily, it's the last.
It only made sense that it predates Ocarina of Time. The sword is already present in that game. It's important to note that this is the first in the timeline thus far, meaning that future games could take place before Skyward Sword. The creators are hesitant to say anything is the first game because they want a lot of space for future creations. They're not hesitant to say that it's the first game. In fact, they've said it a lot of times, but thanks, author person, for writing this article. It makes me want to shoot myself in the freaking head. Okay, let's go. What's the next one?
Well, that was the last one.
What?
It's Mailbag
That's the
time.
last. Oh, it's Mailbag. Thank God.
We're only doing those few.
Oh, you mean we have to come back to this article later?
Story, actually. Oh, what just happened to my thing?
Can we delete this from the internet?
Okay.
Is there a way to do that?
Okay,
No.
so this is funny. One of my friends, like in real life, that knows like my actual name, commented on my "I hate Smash" video, even though I don't actually hate Smash. And he talked about, and I just replied with actually what you guys said earlier, because I never thought about it. He was like, he said it's more like a party game than it at heart than it is a fighting game. He's a really chill dude. Like, don't worry, he's not like it's a party game. And I actually just responded with what you guys are saying. I'm like, well, actually, a party game, board or video means you take turns. Smash, you're fighting until you die. I was like, just to put it simply, but
That said, I have played Smash at parties.
oh,
That's a true
absolutely.
story. That was
Although
my
he
bachelor party
might
in a
be
nutshell.
saying it's more of a party fighting, like hyphenated game. He might be meaning it that way, which I'd be like, cool, because I don't know anything about fighting games. But I just responded with that. I was like, oh, I was just talking about this with other people, with other friends.
What a coincidence.
Also, before we move on, there was something that I was thinking. What was it?
I don't know.
Jeez.
Also, the theory that they were talking about in the chat, I just read over it. I've heard that theory. I love that theory.
I highlighted it in our Google Doc as this is the theory. I like this. So
I heard it a while back and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Should we? Well, we'll just do the intro. We'll start the mailbag off with that one, I think, because I just really want to go over it.
Oh, hey, it's coming back. Oh, jeez.
But what's coming back?
It's coming back.
Are you having a painful time?
No, it was the thing that I was going to talk about that went along with this list.
Hmm. That was my Goron sound. Hmm.
Whoa, what was, there was some NPC, like, not like a monster NPC sound that I accidentally made the sound of one. Oh, it was those sailors from Rusty Bucket Bay in Banjo-Kazooie.
What did they sound? What's the sound?
I don't know if I can make it. It's like, hi! I can't even do it properly now.
Okay.
But it just made me think of that.
Gotta channel your Grant Kirkhope and just...
So this made me think of...
Grant Kirkhope, yes.
I don't want to say who it was, because I don't want to...
It was me.
It was the guy that thinks I'm John.
I don't want people... No, I don't want people
John.
to end up hating on them, or...
It was me.
Like, I don't want to embarrass them publicly or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Then I guess, yeah, don't say their name.
It was...
Yeah.
It was John, wasn't it?
But there was a thing
I don't know
that
who John is.
Okay, so there was a thing that we talked about a while back, kind of going through and making fun of another list that another website had made about Zelda, where almost every single thing on the list that they had named off was completely wrong. Like, it was...
That's upsetting.
It was literally laughable and hysterical how much they had wrong. One of the things was that every link was related to the previous link, if you guys remember.
No. I don't know this specific video.
Yeah.
I feel like you've mentioned
So
it to me,
we did
but I've heard that sad.
We did a discussion video going over a bunch of the facts that we had written down that they had said, where almost everything was wrong. And there was, I wouldn't say it was a notable website or a large one. Like, it wasn't Zelda Dungeon Informer Universe or whatever, because I think they would have enough knowledge of the Zelda series to not know something like that. In fact, I think I even remember talking to a couple of people from some of the websites where they were even making fun of it because they understood that so much was wrong with the thing. But there was another website that did post it, and they were talking about, like, oh, blah 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 reveals blah 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 facts about Zelda, and I had went to them and was like, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but almost everything that they say in this video is wrong. So, like, it goes against what the games themselves have told us. Like, one of the things, again, being that every single link is a descendant of the previous link.
How can you be a descendant of someone if they're sent back in time and then don't exist in that timeline anymore?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if they're dead.
Yeah.
Unless he somehow got with Milan before he died.
We'll see.
17.
Well, that's the
some
one
of the
case I think it
things-
is canon.
Yeah.
Is Twilight Princess Link.
Well, I'm talking about the downfall timeline.
Yeah.
Unless he got with someone before he died.
Yeah, because Link literally dies in the downfall timeline.
But he dies at the end of the game. So you don't
I know,
do that
but I
during
mean
the
at
game.
age 17.
Yeah.
Unless I've been playing wrong.
But,
I know.
But anyway,
I missed something.
In the list, the people who made the original list were like some of the facts that they listed off went against exactly what they were saying as a fact, like 2 or 3 facts later. So, like, they would say one thing that would contradict another thing that they said later on, and it's like, what? Was this a joke? Like, but you're making a fact video and you're not using any actual facts. But anyways, the website that was like they had made their own story, being like, hey, this website, blah, 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 made a fact explaining Zelda, blah, blah, blah. And they were promoting it again, because I seen it and I was like, oh, this will be fun, because I went to see what they had said about it, thinking they would find even more stuff that was wrong with it, but they were promoting it as if everything that the other site was saying was completely true. So I had sent them a message being like, hey, this is like giving a few examples, like this is a few things that they said, obviously this isn't right, and you know, it completely goes against exactly what they say just like 30 seconds later in the video. But in your thing, you're promoting it as if these are facts. You're spreading misinformation to the Zelda fan base. Someone could watch this and think it actually is true. When, like, I hope they knew that it wasn't, but who knows? I mean, if they were, I would hate to think that someone would willingly spread something that stupid. So at the same time, but at the same time, the site was kind of for like dedicated Zelda fans, and it was a Zelda website, so you would imagine they would know that it wasn't. So either
that's bad news.
Yeah, so either they didn't really know that it wasn't, so they were sharing it because maybe they thought it was true, because they didn't actually know anything about Zelda. Or it could have been that despite knowing, they were still sharing it. Despite, again, it being a small website that, like, it's not like IGN or whatever, where if they choose to not post an article, that's like hundreds of dollars that they're missing out on because they don't post an article that could blow up or whatever. Because every single page that IGN and certain other websites post make them a lot of money. To whereas the smaller sites, if they don't post something, they miss out on like 30 cents. Who cares? So it's not as if they knew that it was wrong and they were doing it just to get the money that was coming from it. But
it's a shame though, like it's okay but if you're gonna post, like make a video about it or like a post about it or something like that, and you're like a dedicated site, it's probably best to do some research.
Yeah. And even then, like I think in the message, like I had said what they had wrong. That way they didn't have to look it up themselves. And they replied with something kind of dumb that was just like, I forgot what they said, but they had ended it with like, you do you and we'll do us, or something like that. And by that I meant, like, I took it as, because you could take that in any way. So the way that I was taking it was like, you do you, which meaning like I do me or whatever, as in I keep making the videos that I want to make, which are factual and like well researched and everything. Keep being themselves, which means they'll keep spreading the misinformation and the lies and stuff in the Zelda community. Is how they made it seem whenever they said it. Which kind of made me sad, because if I go to a website to look at news, it's like Go Nintendo or Zelda Dungeon, Zelda Universe or whatever. Because they're the ones that are like up to date the most and have the most news. So it wasn't that I was really a fan of the website, but I kind of got along with the person who ran the website. So after they said that and basically said, no, you do you and we'll continue posting whatever we want, despite knowing that it's not true, I took that as, okay, well, I don't need to associate with these people, because I don't want people to see me following them or see me talking about them and think that my videos and news videos and stuff are as stupid as the stuff that they post. Because it kind of, again, I don't want to say who they were exactly, because it's really embarrassing, and then there'd be a lot of people that would be messaging them being like, how stupid are you, why would you post this and spread lies and blah blah blah, you have a Zelda site, you don't know anything about Zelda. Because there were some people that did that to I think it was Zelda Informer a long time ago, but that was just mad people, because like they were posting it was one day posted a lot of Zelda fan theories, and they would never say the fan theories were true. They would just say, oh, this person has a video, and then they would explain what they said. They would never say like, oh, this video is 100% true. They would just post it. But then they would get people angry in the comments to be like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Or there would be other people arguing like, oh, this is an awesome theory, blah, blah, blah. And then, anyways.
Honestly, the Zelda Informer comment sections, like especially the ones like on the actual Zelda Informer site, when I was working at Zelda Informer making videos for that, it was worse than YouTube comment sections, man. Like, stopped checking after a while because I was like,
yeah,
okay, I get it, guys. You think you know everything.
And of course, when you're can hide behind a screen,
oh yeah,
you're more likely to say more things, and that goes for me too. I can be like that, so I usually have to stop and like walk away for a minute and be like, do I really want to say this? I'm hiding behind a screen right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think on the internet I'm a pretty upfront, but in person I'm pretty non-confrontational, so I get it. But yeah, when I was making videos for Zelda Informer, I remember there was one that was like a analysis video for the Life in the Ruins trailer for Breath of the Wild. It was the first time we saw Rito in it was Rivali.
Oh yeah,
shows up on screen, right? And there was a bunch of people being like, "Oh, this is has to be the Foca from Zelda 2, and this has to be this," and whatever. And the people were saying, "It can't be a Rito because it looks too different from Rito." And I made in the video saying, "Sometimes the simplest answer is the real one." I personally, it's not confirmed, but I think that this is a Rito because if a fish can evolve into a bird, why can't a bird evolve into a more different kind of bird? And people were like, "You're so stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, you take a fucking biology course." Oh, sorry, I swore, I'm sorry, but that was the tone of those comments. They're like, take a biology course, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 it doesn't make any sense. And guess what? I was right.
But it
is a Rito. Boom! You know what's fantastic is all those videos, I was right about everything. I hate to brag, guys, but slight brag there. So,
even I make the biology argument with can't have a relationship type thing, but that's the perfect example of but what is biology in Zelda?
Yeah, but but just people are ridiculous in those comment sections, and they just tear anything up into pieces if given the chance. And it's like, okay, guys, especially when we're in theory territory, like for a game that's not released yet, like, and I'm not even saying it's fact. I'm saying this is a theory. It might be this, blah blah blah. Jeez, yeah. Anyway, people on the internet are crazy, and I'm saying this as a person on the internet, so. I'm crazy.
We are crazy.
So,
sorry, Jesse.
I guess
I derail everything.
To combine what I'm saying and what you're saying is, some people, for some reason, just refuse to believe that they are wrong when presented with the facts, and
that's where I was going to.
They end up saying these things that they know aren't true. That ends up making anything else that they post, whether it be a video, an article, or a comment, it kind of makes it into a joke, because it's like, well, if you were wrong about this, then how can I take you for this? And then it just gets embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because it's like you see someone that keeps talking about something that you and they both know is wrong, but they keep talking and you're just like, stop. Like, you don't want other people to hear you saying this, and then everyone else think you're a joke too.
Yeah.
You know what makes you look really cool? When you say something and it turns out to be factually wrong, and you make a follow-up and say, guess what? I said this thing, and then I learned this. So guess what? It's actually this. I was wrong. Now I'm right. That makes you look cool.
I did that in a video.
That's how you become cool, kids. That's how you become
first,
cool.
I thought Breath of the Wild timeline was in the downfall before A Link to the Past, after Ocarina of Time, but that was just based off of what we learned from the trailers and interviews. And then I found out I was wrong, and it wasn't just in the downfall timeline at that spot.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think even HMK said in one video, he was like, I'm pretty sure that's not Rito, that has something else with the whole Rivali thing. And then later he made a video. Turns out it is Rito. Whoops. Yeah. I thought it wasn't, but it is.
Hi.
Yes.
Mailbag?
Yeah,
doesn't
mailbag.
mean you have to swear at people and... Yeah.
Ilya, would you like to do the mailbag intro?
I can do the intro, yes.
Yeah, give a thank you to the Patreon people.
Yes.
You don't have to say thank you before each one. You can just say thank you and list them.
Okay, getting ready. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast Mailbag. I am Ilya Rose, being hosted by Game Over Jesse, the main man, and also co-hosting with Capt Bergerson. And we are, like I said, doing the mailbag, answering your fan questions about a plethora of different topics. But before we do that, just like to point out that sometimes we get a ton of questions and we can't answer them all. But a way that you can know for sure that your question will be answered is if you become a Patreon supporter. Patreon supporters get first dibs. They always get their question answered. Just like these awesome people: Wild Horse 64, Samuel Ranjamin, I'm gonna go with that, Foxo, Andrew, Jonathan, David, Amanda, Jacob. Actually, I have friends that are married named Amanda and Jacob, so that's really funny. Anyway, yeah, I don't think they know Zelda, so I don't think that's them. Anyway, Derek, Blargnar, Michelle, Mandy, Michael, sorry, I said Michelle. Michael, Elmer, Bootleg Boy, Vortex, Gus, Monica, Link used the Triforce, Lunarium, Shadow to Us, Rusty, and not unlovable Christy, but lovable Christy.
Yes.
And I know, at least for the first portion of the mailbag, there was a really cool theory being discussed in the comments that Daniel really wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess it's not really a question for the mailbag, but... It's not the question bag, it's the mailbag, so I'm doing it.
Kind of is a question, is if you ask if it is true or not, so...
Oh, that's true. I said I was going to pretend anyways, but now this was an ongoing discussion in the live chat. Well, earlier, I think they're kind of still going at it, actually, but this portion of it, I really liked the train of thought. This was Hylian, Luke, and Javier Vasquez. So we're chatting about this, and what Hylian Luke said is, I wondered if theoretically the reason Ocarina of Time Link doesn't have to go to the Temple of Light in-game, not the real-world reason where they cut it out during development, and not that reason, the in-game reason, he doesn't have to go to the Temple of Light is because Twilight Princess Link traveled back into time, completed it while he was asleep in the Sacred Realm. Then Javier joined in and said, that's an interesting possibility, but as it's shown in the game, Rauru was already awakened as the Sage of Light, so I guess he simply didn't bother forcing Link to go through it. So, here's what I always assumed as a kid, or whenever I played the game, is that there was a group of sages already, ancient sages, in the timeline in which the adult portion of Ocarina of Time takes place, the adult timeline. Ganondorf kills all of them, except Rauru. He was the only one left. Now, when a sage dies, the blood of the sage awakens in someone else. They're like predestined to be the next sage of forest and fire and water and etc. So we see that occurrence happen in Wind Waker when the sage of earth and wind have died by Ganondorf's hands as well, and their sage counterparts sort of awaken then. So that happens in Ocarina of Time as well. Except for Rauru, he's the surviving sage, ancient sage. Meanwhile, in Twilight Princess, the ancient sages weren't killed in that timeline, so they still exist in those weird ethereal forms that we see. So the other sages were never awakened. That's always what Jesse so eagerly wants to say something. Jesse, what is it?
In Twilight Princess. So when you see the sages and Ganondorf in Twilight Princess, that is happening almost directly after Ocarina of Time.
Yes. So Ganondorf didn't get around to killing all those ancient sages yet.
But he did kill one.
That Sage of Light, he did kill that one in that timeline. But I always imagine that Sage of Light, those being the ancient sages, that's how they can appear in Hyrule when they're not in the Sacred Realm. And that Sage of Light is Rauru as well. So it's sort of like this otherworldly appearance that they become when there are sages or something like that. The art style is just really different as well. But the way I always thought of it was that just Rauru was the surviving ancient sage who continued to be an ancient. There was no next sage of light, but all the other sages who had died, the next sage in line had to be awakened by Link in Ocarina of Time.
I have another thing to add to this.
Yes.
So, in one day, really because it was the day that happened, Ganondorf killed the water sage, I think it was, in
I think so.
Twilight Princess.
In Twilight Princess.
Because he had the water symbol. So
yes.
all of the other temples in Ocarina of Time's Hyrule, aside from the Temple of Light, they are all in Hyrule.
Yes.
The Temple of Light, which holds the Chamber of Sages, so that technically in Ocarina of Time, Link does go to the Temple of Light, because the Chamber of Sages is one single room located inside the Temple of Light, which is also not located in Hyrule. It is located in the Sacred Realm. Ganondorf could not go to the Sacred Realm in Ocarina of Time.
Yes, so that's how Rauru
until
ended up being survived, or dead.
All of the other sages...
He ended up not dying.
All of the other sages die because Ganondorf, over the course of those 7 years, again, he was able to kill the one sage while he was being imprisoned, stabbed through the chest, and everything else. So, like, after, being chained up, imprisoned, being stabbed through the chest, after all of that, he's still able to kill one of the sages before they're able to manage to seal him in the Twilight Realm. So with, the sword through his chest, everything, he's still able to kill one of them. So being free over the course of 7 years, it would not be very hard at all to believe that he was able to kill all of the others.
Like the other 5.
Except Rauru, because Rauru was safe inside the Chamber of Sages, which is also why Link was also safe in there, and Ganondorf couldn't also kill Link, because Link's body, soul, whatever, was also trapped inside the Chamber of Sages. And again, this means in Twilight Princess, there was a room that we were not able to go to in the Temple of Light, because we know that the Chamber of Sages is in the Temple of Light, yet when we went to the Temple of Time, Temple of Light, whatever, we were not able to visit that room.
Yes.
Right?
But then, I think their theory, though, specifically is like, if Ganondorf had killed the Sage of Light as well, the reason Link didn't have to awaken that sage was because while he's asleep, during that time, before he awakens and Rauru was like, hey, sup, kid, you grew up. Just what? You didn't notice that, did you? Before that happens, Twilight Princess Link goes through the Door of Time back into the Temple of Time, as we see it in the path, more or less, our style aside. Goes into the Temple of Light and completes the dungeon, and without even meeting the sage, by destroying Armagoma, awakens Rauru as the Sage of Light.
Yeah, and there is another Goma alive.
There's 2 Gomas somehow, I guess.
Well, no, because one would be in the Deku Tree that dies.
Yes.
Wait.
So, but we don't know when
no.
period takes place. That's the thing, is that when Twilight Princess Link goes back in time into the Temple of Light, we don't know.
When during those 7 years was it? Yeah.
Are you hearing something? Did you hear it? Or we don't even know if it happened during those 7 years. Thing.
That's true.
Like, it could have been. Jesse, are you okay?
Yeah. There's people in the outside the apartment that live in the other apartment that were yelling at each other, and then one of them slammed their door.
Oh no.
Oh, I had that same issue when I lived in an apartment, except I heard fighting and other things.
Yeah.
Well,
I heard the opposite of fighting.
Do a lot of karaoke.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what you guys were saying, but really quick, I want to say that Armagoma still theoretically could be the Goma that we knew in Ocarina of Time, because Link.
She
Wait,
burned
no,
up, though.
hold on,
But they look very different.
hold on. Okay,
And
no.
she like burns
So-
up after you beat her.
Yeah, no. So I was thinking that when Link is sent back in time, so I was getting my time mixed up. I was thinking for some reason in my head, I was thinking he meets Zelda before he beats any of the other dungeons, which is true. But he does beat
Goma first.
Yeah, but he does beat the Deku Tree, and
'Kay,
then he meets Zelda before all of the other dungeons. So I was thinking could have been. But go on, Daniel.
I think I found the issue with the theory, and I love this theory. I love this. You know, how did this happen and everything? But problem is, the ancient sages, including potentially Rauru, only die when Link pulls the Master Sword, and the 7 years go by, which is only in the adult timeline. Link goes back in time, and the child timeline starts there, basically, when he goes back in time to before before he pulls the Master Sword to when he meets Zelda for the first time, which means that for there need to be a need to even awaken the Sage of Light.
Right.
Link would have had to have pulled the Master Sword, but that only happened in the other timeline, not in the child timeline. So if Twilight Princess Link had gone back in time to awaken this sage, like Ganondorf wouldn't have gone and killed the sage, though, like he would have with the other sages. So because these are happening in 2 separate timelines, so this just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Probably a moment too late, but
I also wonder though if both timelines exist. Could he somehow have gone back in time to that portion of it? I more so agree with what you're saying being a flaw. I'm just trying to see if there's a way to justify it.
Back up into the other timeline, or like making a dimensional jump to a whole separate timeline. And also, if
it would be hard.
If it's before he pulls the Master Sword, then why isn't the Master Sword? Why wasn't there 2? Why isn't the Master Sword there when he goes back in time in Twilight Princess? You know.
That's true.
Because there would be a level of consistency like that, because Skyward Sword, we see Zelda's like weird chrysalis thing. You could see it right at the beginning of the game when you go back.
So what you're saying is, while it was their original idea, the theory they ended up with was not completely accurate. While the theory that I came up with,
I love it, but I think I gotta debunk. I think I gotta call it debunked.
The part of the theory that I came up with to explain it is more right.
Which part? The Goma part?
No. About the like if he just remained alive, and then the other, like Ganon over the 7 years killed the other.
Well, that's what I said too. Yeah, I think Ganondorf killed all the other sages as well, but Rauru, like you said, he was the surviving sage.
We had the correct version of their own theory.
Because I think Rauru had just. I think he states when he awakens, "I'm Rauru of the ancient sages" or something along those lines. I think he specifically says the word ancient sages, and then in Twilight Princess, when Auru, who is not Rauru,
the owl.
Sorry,
did we bring that up, or did they bring that up?
Gabora. They did mention it. I don't remember exactly, but they did mention Gabora, the owl.
Yeah.
Who is Raru's sort of weird Hyrule manifestation.
Who also flies to Termina.
Like projects. He pulls a Luke Skywalker, projects himself into Hyrule in the form of an owl. That's always how I imagine it.
Yeah.
But he's not actually there. He's still in the Sage of.
Because like in Twilight Princess, you said, and I've kind of thought it too. I actually have a video kind of talking about this with all of the other old Chamber of Sages members, like HMK and Zelda Master and Vortexy and Commonwealth Realm and everyone. But it's kind of a different theory, talking about how they died, the other ones.
I think Auru in Twilight Princess, who's not Rauru, or is it Oru? The older guy that's part of that group, he mentions that the ancient sages were at the Arbiter's ground, whatever. And I think the reason that they appear as these weird manifestations is because that's kind of like how they, I don't know, almost like project themselves into that area. I don't know if...
Or whenever they go to Hyrule and they're outside of the Sacred Realm, they take on that form.
Yeah, something along those lines. So that could be one reason they look so different, because after they're awakened as sages, the only times we see them are in the Chamber of Sages, and then when they go into Hyrule, in the end credit scene of Ocarina of Time, they're like spirits almost. Like they travel in like little energy balls, then they kind of manifest and look out at the sunrise or set or whatever, and then they kind of turn into spirits and like blow it away or whatever, right? Yeah. Sephi Wolf 44 in the chat says that Link was able to, because Link has the Triforce of Courage in his possession when he goes back in time, just how he convinces the Hyrule family. In this case, Link initiated the split. Yes, Link sort of does in that case. Zelda sort of does by sending Link back in time. But yes, I believe it is shown that he has it still, the Triforce of Courage. And I think it says in Hyrule's story that that's how he convinced them, because he showed up and they're like, who's this kid? What is he talking about? Like Ganondorf's evil, whatever. And he's like, bish, look at this. and they're like, oh damn, this kid's for real. Like,
yeah,
this 10-year-old knows his stuff.
Because he needed to collect the 3 stones to get the Triforce.
And they're like, damn, time travel's real. So
well, dang it.
Oh damn. Yeah,
also,
so Javier says maybe they're sort of avatars while the sages' bodies remain inside the Sacred Realm. Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking. Same idea as Kippur Gabora. I think that's what he was, sort of like this sort of avatar, like just way projected spirit into Hyrule, while he himself physically stays in the Sacred Realm safe.
Does he show up in Death Mountain crater? He shows up like at the top of
not
outside.
In the crater, but yes, outside, and then he'll fly you to Kakariko Village if you want. He shows up in a couple places. He also shows up at Lake Hylia, and he'll fly you to the gates of Castletown, I believe. Like just little shortcuts. Only if you're Child Link.
Yeah. Also,
he only shows up once if you're Adult Link in the Gerudo Desert. He just sort of watches you and Sheik talk, and then he flies away.
A lot of people run from Zora's Domain after Jabu Jabu to Hyrule Castle and initiate that cutscene. I always did it by flying on Gaebora from Lake Hylia to the castle. And it drops you off there, and it shows the cutscene where it drops you off, and the sky is all white and stuff. And then it immediately flashes and clicks to the cutscene. That's funny.
Because if you walk there, it gradually grows darker, which makes way more sense. So that's kind of funny, actually.
Next question, I guess. Oh,
I think just as a final acknowledgement, sorry, he says, so you're saying that the doesn't work because there's no Sword in the Pedestal of Time when TP Link goes back in time? And no, why I think the theory doesn't work as much as I really love the theory is I think because the only time the sages die and need to be awakened is in the adult timeline.
After Ganon gets the Triforce of Power.
And that none of that happens in the child timeline. So, except for the water sage being killed.
There's not a need to do the light temple.
Yeah.
In there.
So, unfortunately, I think that's the real reason that it doesn't work. But I still love the line of thinking, that outside the box thing. Like I never even would have thought of that. So,
Brandon. What happened to Vortexy, Jesse? I do not know.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nope.
We don't know, at least.
People will have come up with a bunch of stuff, but no one knows.
Yeah.
But still go watch her videos. They're really great.
Yeah.
They really are.
I watched a bunch of them.
One of them. I was the first voice guest that she ever had on her channel, which was really cool.
I think I saw that video.
Yeah.
Again, she's one of like the main 5 YouTubers I found when I first started just like binge watching everything Zelda Theory.
Yeah.
But really good, high quality, very cinematic feel.
Very good
videos, like really one of the best.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jesse.
She has she has a lot of cool theories, so go and watch them. But there are tons of people who think they know what happened to her. There are a bunch of people that have their own ideas and theories and stuff, but I guess you would have to be like a family member of hers to really know.
Yeah, or someone that knows her, like a close friend that went to school or something. I don't know, but yeah, or just internet.
Because someone says they're a close friend and knows what happened doesn't mean they are.
That's true. I know there was people like on her Google Plus thing. There was that whole thing that floated around a while back. But I think that was debunked as well. So I don't really know. But
yeah.
What was it?
But still watch your videos.
Yes, but no, there was someone that like went on her Google Plus and was like, "I'm a really close friend of hers, and she's dead." And everyone's like, "Who are you?" And
it's like, we've never heard of you.
Just because someone's silent on the internet for mean that they're dead. So
there was also,
it could be that they wanted a huge break.
Who was it?
Just really wanted to get away.
Our Discord, Avrith, I think, said that he had that screenshot from Vortexy on Skype, but then I think people said that that was fake as well.
Oh, I remember that too.
Really? But it's someone was asking in the chat, what's her channel? I can't. Vortexy Gaming, Vortexy with 2 X's, and I'm gonna put a link in the chat for it. I think they're really good. Very good quality videos. What's the next mailbag, guys?
What's the next question? Does that count as a question?
Abigail had one in here that she was addressing Ilya for, so
yeah, and I read through it. I can do that one.
Sure.
So, Abigail Garber asks, well, it says part 1. Is there a part 2? I don't know.
Sorry, I actually combined them. Sorry, she did put part 2, but I just put them all together into one paragraph or so.
That works.
Take out
I don't see a part 2.
Oops, sorry. There you go.
So she asked, do you think that Fi will come back in a future Zelda game? Spoiler alert for Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. I know that she says she is going to an eternal slumber at the end of Skyward Sword, but she also talks to Zelda at the end of Breath of the Wild, who advises her that Link can still be saved in the second to last memory. In addition, after fully powering the Master Sword, she speaks. Could powering up the Master Sword have partially awakened her? Since I have not, even though I've watched playthroughs of Skyward Sword and know the story pretty well, I won't say that what I'm saying is like 100% because I don't know. There's a difference between watching a playing story and playing it myself. So I just want to make that clarification. I did have the same thought when I got that memory of Zelda and like the Master Sword was like speaking to her, and I was like, oh, it's Fi. Since she kind of lives on it throughout the ages, which I thought was just kind of like a really cool nod to Skyward Sword. Honestly, it gives me goosebumps to think about that one. Like, I don't know why, it just does. Powering it up, partially reawaken her. I mean, that would make sense since Fi is the spirit of the sword, so therefore powering up the sword reawakens her spirit. I don't necessarily think, oh, she's gonna come out and start talking to you again. Most people probably won't want that, but to be fair, but I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's like, no, that doesn't reawaken her.
Yeah,
it seems logical.
So I only have a really short answer to this. I think she definitely will come back because in Skyward Sword, the very next game that they made, like that the team that made Skyward Sword made, at least, like literally the very next game, she has a huge reference. So I think like in a later game, they'll likely do more than just reference her. And that could be a reason why you had to get the sword fully powered in this game. Who knows? But in Skyward Sword, I think the only reason that they said that she was going to have an eternal slumber was just so that they could easily explain and wrap up why, or actually just to stop all of the people that would question in the same way, like, oh, if Loftwings are in Skyward Sword, why aren't they in all the other games? Or
why doesn't Fi talk in this game?
If Fi talks to Link in this game, why doesn't she talk to the Links in all the other games? And I think it was just a way that they could just use one sentence to explain why she doesn't talk, because she went into an eternal slumber. So very smart on Nintendo's part.
Right.
Oh yeah.
if I can chime in here,
Yeah.
as well. I think what they did with the design of Fi's, the way she communicates in like both Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, when in the sword and the sword flashes in that blue color specifically, and then in Breath of the Wild, when you awaken the Master Sword and its power, blue glow, and when Fi talks to Link and Zelda, again, same blue glow. In the climax of Ocarina of Time, after Ganondorf knocks the Master Sword out of you, and then you defeat him, whatever, right before you land the finishing blow, okay? There's a moment in that cutscene where Zelda basically, lasers Ganondorf, or Ganon, sorry, and he's stuck on the ground. And then she's like, use the Master Sword and finish him off, basically. Link looks at the Master Sword, it glows in that same blue color and makes this sound effect. It's not the same sound effect because they hadn't thought of that yet, but it glows for a moment in that same blue color, and Link's eyes kind of widen, and then you land the finishing blow and kill Ganon. So in my head, that's connected. That is the moment where Fi was like, hey, let's do this, to Ocarina of Time Link. And that's the first time he hears Fi talking to him, and is like, okay, and then he goes kind of berserk and stabs him in the friggin' skull, right? So
that
in my head, like that, like retroactively,
that's why they made it that
this
color.
Game.
And Skyward Sword.
I was like, okay, this is now connected, and Fi actually did talk to us before that. And the same thing when Link pulls the Master Sword in Link's Past, which I've been streaming on Twitch, by the way, so this is super fresh in my head. And he holds the Master Sword up, it glows that same blue color as well.
And in Ocarina of Time, when you pull the sword up or put it back down, it's a blue circle of energy that surrounds you.
Even though technically there's no dialogue boxes in any of the games except Skyward Sword represent by speaking to Link, in my head, with the exception of Twilight Princess where we don't really see it happen at all with that blue glow or anything, Fi does talk to Master.
And it does glow in the Twilight realm.
It's more
but
of a golden
like white.
glow. Like a golden white glow.
But you could say the glow is from Fi being in the Twilight realm, not necessarily the Master Sword.
The sepia tone.
Yeah. Yes, it's the sepia Fi. But anyways, going back to, because the first time I played Skyward Sword, I immediately, as soon as I finished the game, immediately played Ocarina of Time. And that's why it stood out to me so much, is in such a climactic moment that happens with the Master Sword and Link looking at it, and he's like, oh damn. Like, it just connected the dots for me instantly. So I would encourage everyone to just go watch that cutscene. Just watch it, and if you don't think that that's Fi talking to Link when the Master Sword's shining and being like, boom, I'm super powerful, we're gonna kill him, then tell me you think I'm wrong, I'll accept that. But I genuinely think that this is legit. So
and it just shows how much awesome effort was put into Skyward Sword, and why there should be less hate on it. Also, there was a funny comment by Mina the vampire. They said, "The Master Sword, I heard it speak to me. It seems my Wiimote is running out of battery." And I just read it in Patricia Somerset's voice. So I was like,
Master Sword.
So
yes.
It was great.
Is it my turn?
That's good. Yes, sorry, Justin.
Okay. No, I was trying to think. I've been playing with there's this little screwdriver, and on my desk there's a screw that's like halfway out, and I've been like twisting and untwisting it. So
it's like Tommy Pickles.
A little
always have a screwdriver.
Behind the scenes for everyone. All right.
I've been playing with a nail filer because I keep messing my nails up lately.
What would you change on Ultimate Smash? We kind of talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sorry. Thank you, Gus. He's one of our patrons. We talked about it earlier, Gus. We love you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even check to see which ones were Patreons.
Oops. I guess I'll take it out.
Yeah.
Bada bing, ba boom. Been trying to take them out as we answer them instead of.
Okay, Jonathan is apparently just determined to make me watch the Avatar series.
Oh yeah, so
and
Jonathan,
review it for some reason.
Jonathan being a Patreon supporter and the person who made one of our shirt designs.
That's true.
Although this has nothing to do with games or Zelda because he is a Patreon supporter, we have to answer his question, which is
true.
How much do we have to pledge for Ilya to watch and review the Avatar series. I think you wouldn't have to pledge to us. You would have to talk her into making her own Patreon. Or
he commented on one of my videos. He was like, you know what? I was watching the podcast. By the way, you really need to watch Avatar.
He's right. He's right. It's so good.
Well,
It's so
eventually.
good.
I will say that if I get to 1,000 subscribers, which seems like an actual possibility now, I will.
there was a possibility
Probably set up a
before
Patreon.
as well.
Ilya, I want you to watch the Avatar series and
Yeah.
then sort them into Hogwarts houses. That's your next video idea.
I cannot tell you. I have such a long list of scripts that are such and such goes to Hogwarts. I have one that's Harry Potter goes to Ilvermorny.
Aang is in Gryffindor. Okay, Katara's I want to say she's probably either Slytherin or Ravenclaw. I can't really choose.
Where does Korra go?
Sokka's a Hufflepuff, I think. No, Zuko.
Where does
These
Korra
names
go?
mean nothing to me.
Zuko is like very disciplined and
does
very
Korra
like.
go?
I don't know. I haven't watched Legend of Korra. I need to watch that. I'll watch Legend of Korra when. Stairbender.
You cut out.
Boom. What?
Yeah. When who?
I don't know
What
what
did
this
you
is. This hand thing I'm doing. It's the letter F in sign language. I will watch Legend of Korra when Ilya watches The Last Airbender.
I mean, I
challenge
have
is on.
some interest in it, especially I've been wanting to watch animes lately. I don't know why.
Anime Harry
Because
Potter.
the
I
only
watched One
anime
Punch
I've
Man
ever
for the first
watched,
time recently.
Pokemon.
That's hilarious.
Okay, there are 2 anime movies I've seen. One was such a long time ago, so I don't really remember it except being creeped out at one specific scene. But I want to watch it again, and that's Spirited Away.
Oh.
Ooh, I watched that
The
recently.
part where she holds her breath on the bridge, I only saw it once. It freaked me out for some reason. Because I was like, this is scary. I don't know why.
Pretty high stakes situation.
And the other one I watched was shortly after that, Ponyo. And I was like, this is a creepy anime version of the little...
Did you watch the Pokemon movie?
Oh yeah, I watched the very first one, and I watched the most recent one that came out. There's a picture of me somewhere.
Those
I don't
count
know,
as
it's probably
anime.
not... Well, yeah, I know.
Japanese cartoons.
Because I watched those, but me and my friend went to, like, we sat in luxury lounge recliners in
Oh.
Pikachu onesies.
Nice.
We were in Pikachu onesies. But then there was these couple of really, like, they were probably, like, in their 30s or 40s that had Pokedex, and they kept trying to scan us to figure out what Pokemon we were. And I was like, I'm clearly a Pikachu, and so is she. You are clearly twice our age. And you're trying to scan us. I'm sure you mean it in a playful manner, but please don't. Just don't. Thankfully, our kids were nowhere near them.
Just donated. Ilya, you gotta. It's on Netflix, Ilya. You've got no excuse.
Oh, I was about to ask, where is it? Okay,
on
well,
Netflix.
I'll try to start watching it. If it's on Netflix, I'll try and start watching it.
Do it, you'll
Not
love
tonight,
it. I want to know.
but-
I want to know all your thoughts. I'll watch your
Axel
super
said he
long
rated on
story.
Twitch.
Oh, I'm just opening Twitch up. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
What did you do? Oh, we've got 8 people watching on Twitch.
I wasn't
Sorry, Twitch
even-
chat. We never pay attention to you. We love you though.
But technically, Jonathan.
Thank
oh, wait,
you,
actually, no.
Axel.
I was gonna be like, technically, Jonathan, you gave that money to Jesse, not to me. But in hindsight, it does kind of get to me. So I'm like, well, actually,
Trickle down economics of the podcast. No, do it. Watch it and then and then make a sorting video. I really want to see what you think of
Are
that.
there any like side stories that I need to watch too, or is it just like
No,
Avatar
just
and then
Avatar. And then Legend of Korra is like,
It's like a sequel for like 100 years later or something.
yeah, I was gonna say like 10 years later, but no, it's like Zelda.
Okay.
Like each avatar is reincarnated like a while after they die or whatever. So
Yeah.
Zelda and Link, they reincarnate after, and it's not that they reincarnate like their spirit
the
doesn't.
spirit?
It's just their power manifests in someone else later on after they die.
And then they can
My-
communicate with the past lives though, which
Yeah.
is neat. But don't want to spoil too much. So
Also, Mina in the chat, you're sorting people from Breath of the Wild. I have a video coming out of and you might be very surprised by where I sort the champions. Anyway, someone was also asking about like anime shows that I might watch and they're not sure. I'll start with Avatar, but the thing is my main experience with anime series other than Pokemon is I lived in a home on campus with a few of my friends. One of my friends, Amelia, very big into very cheesy, classic anime, and we shared a wall. And I would just hear her. She has a very high-pitched, squealy laugh, and she would just squeal really loud all of a sudden. And I'd be like, Amelia, are you okay? And she was like, they're so cute. And she'd be talking about all these different couples, and I'm like... And then on the other side, I had my other roommate who had a Barbados accent, and I would hear her loudly practicing her Barbados accent, and I'm like,
Barbados.
this is fun.
Well, something that I will credit to Avatar as a series is that there is a little bit, but otherwise very little romance in the show. And
I
that's actually
appreciate
something
that.
I really appreciate as
In
well,
which show?
because it's like in The Last Airbender, there is a little bit. But
Yeah, but as
not
long as
really
it's not
all
as
that
much as a normal anime, 'cause
Oh no,
anime,
it's not even as much
really
as like a normal
schoolgirl, like,
anything. It's not even as much as like an average movie. That
I was gonna say
That's nice.
any TV show.
'cause I hate when there's like
Very
action
minimal.
movies and they're like, oh, now we're gonna put a tiny little scene. Like, I'm sorry, the whole Vision and Scarlet Witch thing.
Yeah, that
Why was
weird.
that? I did not like that.
I wasn't into that.
Or Hulk and
That one was okay.
that one
seemed a little
wasn't
less
as bad.
romance and a little more like I don't know. That to me seemed more like just like she was a companion that he felt comfortable with, and like
Yeah.
That's true, and I did
I
love
don't
the
know,
moment
but-
where she was like, "You think you're the only monster," and she starts talking about her backstory, and I was like, "Oh, heartbroken." Okay,
Yeah.
Oof.
but Vision and Scarlet Witch, I was
Yeah.
like, "Please stop."
With the Hulk, I think it's more of she might know, or even like between movies, who knows? There might have been a thing between not the Hulk, but I forgot his human name.
Bruce
Jeez.
Banner.
Bruce
Yeah,
Banner.
I cannot believe I forgot that. That's horrible. That's like me forgetting the Zelda character's name earlier. But yeah, Bruce Banner and her may have had some sort of odd thing going on. And then because the human form had emotions for her, maybe that went through to the Hulk form. So she was trying to like, who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will try to watch Avatar, especially now that he's like donated after answering his question.
Legend of Korra has some romance, but it's still not a lot either. Like,
And I think there's even a part in The Last Airbender where there's like a romance that's gonna happen, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not really a good time because we're fighting this after the war thing. We can maybe think about this later."
Yeah.
And then they kind of move on with it.
But-
And I'm just like, "Yeah, that makes so much
what
sense."
Ilya said though is like there'll be like an action thing, and then there'll be like a random love.
Yeah, random
Scene.
love scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
I-
stand
Nothing
those.
like
I
that.
posted in the Discord a couple of days ago about that. Maybe a good thing from Daredevil and all of these other shows being taken away from Netflix is that if they are put on the Disney streaming service, which is what everyone thinks, and even Marvel and Disney said that the characters were going to pop up sometime in the future. They didn't say whether it was going to be a TV series or like a cameo in a movie or a cameo in another series. They just said that they would pop up again. So I was thinking if they did bring it back for a TV show on the Disney streaming service and it's PG-13 instead of rated R, then those random sex scenes that they have will just disappear altogether.
Good. Also, because a lot of people are already suggesting things for me in the chat, the reason I typically don't watch animes is because I generally do not watch TV series. I'm not a fan of TV shows because this sounds really lazy. I don't like keeping up with the story. I want to watch a movie and it end. Granted, I watched Harry Potter. I read Harry Potter. I read other books, and those you have to keep up with. But most TV
The Hunger
series...
Gems. Is that the name of it?
No.
The Hunger Gems?
No.
No?
No, that's...
Gems.
Oh, the
No.
Hunger Gymnasts. The Hungry Gymnasts.
Like, the only
Yeah.
TV shows
Because-
I actually watch are, like, their own stories in themselves, like Forensic Files or things about, like, people's psychology. It's about one person for that show. It's not a continual line, that's just why I have a hard time watching TV shows, because, again, it sounds lazy. I don't want to keep up
Like the Harry Potter
with what's
books.
going on.
Each book's about
Yeah.
a different person.
No. I mean, like I said,
Isn't
Harry Potter
book
and
one-
Hunger Games are the exception.
Book 1 is Harry Potter, and then book 2 is Fantastic Beasts, right? The second book's the Fantastic Beasts book.
I still haven't seen that movie. Oh,
And
my mom
that's
and I
why
are supposed
there's
to
a
watch
It's
it
really
Tuesday.
good. You should see it. And
The new one. I think we're gonna watch it on Tuesday. We're gonna go luxury lounge.
I like
I need
this
to watch
one.
that. I haven't watched the new one, but I did really like the first.
Oh yeah, I've seen the first one. That was the first time I went to a movie theater on my own, and I didn't like the feeling of being on my own. But despite being an introvert.
Oh.
just creepy.
No, that makes sense as being an introvert because you're alone, quote unquote, but you're in a room full of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Without
Yeah.
somebody. So no, it does make sense as an introvert.
Yeah,
that
okay.
You wouldn't like doing that.
Because
Jesse
I'm that
is just
person that's
wrong.
like,
Yes.
I'm like, I want to be alone, but with other people around.
Alright.
Confusing.
What? What's a mailbag?
Pick a number, 1 through 10, both of you.
5.
Shoot. 3.
My number was 4, and both of you were 1 off. Okay, pick another number.
7.
5.
My
I
number
picked 5
was
before it.
7. So
Woo!
Daniel
I thought you were gonna say 6, and I was gonna be like, no.
That would have been hilarious.
Daniel picks the last.
Okay. Boy. I should read these questions. Okay, I like this one. King Crab Logan asked, would you want a Zelda Dungeon Maker kind of in the same vein as Super Mario Maker?
That would be really difficult to do.
To make? Or to play?
Yeah,
make
Mario
or to
Maker is just
play?
left to right. You have a bunch of different things you can do, but
Mhm.
a dungeon, I'm thinking 3D, so
I think it would have to be 2D Zelda.
yeah.
So it's a little easier to work with.
What if
But
I
then you gotta think about items, you gotta think about blocks and switch placements.
What if I told you Nintendo already made one?
That's funny because Zelda 1
Yeah.
was originally gonna be
That's what I was talking about.
Zelda Dungeon
Yeah.
Maker.
They made it, but then did not release it because they did not want people to find the difficulty. Yeah.
But what would you think of that? Of having that, playing that, and then we could have different skins. Like you'd have your Zelda 1 past skin, you could have your Game Boy Color games skin. I
yeah.
was just gonna say Link's Awakening, but Oracle games as well are in the same art style. So that Game Boy skin, you could have the 3D like a Link Between Worlds style. There's your 4 skins, just like in Mario Maker. You have top-down 2D Zelda dungeons. There's actually a fan project called Legend Maker, I think, is what they settled on as the name because they want to avoid.
I used to be
copyright
friends
strikes.
with that guy.
And
I like it
looks
when
super
Jesse
promising.
whispers, no. No, you don't.
Everyone asked me for ASM.
Di banane.
Deep.
Yes.
We almost got through an episode without it.
Oh no!
I was
don't
surprised
want
Daniel
to.
hadn't brought it up.
I almost did earlier, but then we were getting heated about something else. So
The orange.
There was
The
a
apple.
it's
The
not the
apple.
same.
Excuse me.
there was a
not
video
the same.
someone retweeted or posted on Twitter to where it was Donkey Kong walking towards a banana, and then I forgot what the other character was, but they just pick up the character and hit Donkey Kong with it, and Donkey Kong has like 400% on his damage, so he just like blasts off after being hit with the banana.
The
Di-banana.
banana.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would play this game. Going back to the question, I don't know if I would. I probably would try it, but I feel like I would hurt my brain because I like solving puzzles, not making puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
that's
would
just
love
me.
it.
All
I
right.
want it.
Since
I
that's
want to do it.
a short
I want
question,
to play it.
Daniel, give us your favorite Zelda fact.
How do I choose?
I don't know.
There's so many facts. I'm like, should I go get my books?
Or what was one Zelda fact that you learned and was like, blew your mind?
Oh gosh.
Ever? Like
Zelda and Link are siblings.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
This was meant to be like really quick, so we could just all go through and leave.
it's not quick.
All right. I would say mine.
My brain's so cramped full of things about Zelda.
Okay, so I'm gonna use Twilight Princess. Mine was that the entire beginning of Twilight Princess was completely changed just a few months before it released. Miyamoto or Aonuma, one of the two, came into the room and was like, "Hey, this is a cool idea, but what if we did this?" And this was in their Twilight Princess Iwata Asks, and one of the people said there are like Miyamoto moments or Iwata moments to where, not Iwata, Aonuma, yeah, or Aonuma moments to where they'll come in and they'll suggest something, but they're not really suggesting it. And if you keep working on whatever it is that you're trying to work on, they'll come back the next day or like a week later after you've continued progress on the thing that you're working on and ask again, and then eventually persuade you into doing it. So instead of saying no and then working on the thing that you're working on and then having weeks of your work being thrown out, it's better to just change whatever it is when they first suggest it. That way you don't continue working on it and having to throw it out. But the game Twilight Princess, you were originally going to begin the game in a different location as Wolf Link instead of normal Link, but then they wanted to teach you all of the mechanics as a human before you turned into a wolf. And then they ended up putting Ordon Village, where it's located now, really close to the end of development, and the Hidden Village, or Old Kakariko, was at first not even going to be in the game, meaning that the entire lore backstory in the game behind the last remaining sheik living in the what used to be Kakariko Village, originally she was going to be somewhere else. And that wasn't going to be Old Kakariko. Kakariko was just going to be Kakariko. And one of the developers liked that minigame in the Old Kakariko so much, or the Hidden Village so much, that he convinced the other developers to play it. And that ended up causing them to like it, where they were like, okay, well, let's just make it a side quest. Because they still didn't feel that it fit with the tone of the game, with the Western themed music and it looking like a Western style area. So they decided on making it just an optional side quest. And then they ended up liking it so much, they made it mandatory that you had to go there because they liked it so much. So then they ended up putting, as the way to make it so that the players would have to go there, that it was unavoidable, unlike the Masked Salesman and Ocarina of Time, who you can completely skip, to make sure that Hidden Village is completely unavoidable, that you have to go there. They put one of the main side characters there with the book, or the Ancient Sky book, so that forced you to go there and play that minigame. But yeah, originally it wasn't even going to be in the game, which just adding in that one little minigame completely changed the lore of Breath of the Wild Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time. Because then you bring up questions like, well, why is the last remaining sheik there? Why does she have the sky book from the City in the Sky? Why does she have, or why, what was it? Why is it Old Kakariko or whatever? So there's all that stuff.
Abigail in the chat had a really good one. So the fact that Link in the Wind Waker during development was originally going to slowly age throughout the game and become adult Link by the end of the game. But they ultimately weren't able to implement it, the GameCube's hardware. I kind of wish they would bring it into a new game. I agree. I love that.
That'd be cool.
It was a cool thing. It would be so cool. I don't have anything to add other than that would have been wicked. I love that. But it's a shame it didn't pan out. But I guess it makes sense. It depends how long you're playing the game for, like 30 hours, and then they're like kids like 7 years older. It doesn't make much sense, but it is such a cool idea.
Yeah. Have you guys thought of your facts?
I'm stealing Hylian Luke's, actually, because I read it and I was like, actually, yes. I thought that was very cool. Which is finding out that Zelda is the goddess Hylia incarnate. I have a lot of other reasons why I find that cool, just references to other things that I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. But I just remember learning that and just kind of, I mean, I don't remember how I learned it. I was probably watching a Let's Play, and I was just like, I don't know, something about it, I'm just like, that's really cool. Also, I just freaking love Skyward Sword Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
She, like, if I had to be best friends with any Zelda, it would be Skyward Sword Zelda. Hands down. She and I would get along so well, because she's very sweet, but she's also, like, heckin' independent and does not take people's crap. And I'm like, girl, yes. So I think that was a really cool concept, and I like it.
Yes. Cool. That's a good one, too. I agree. Mine is the fact that in the Wind Waker, you have to reawaken the sages of the wind and earth in order to give the Master Sword its power. And then it's explained in Skyward Sword that there's a song that Fi sings to you that says that the hero to, like, says it's something along the lines of the hero to grow in power must unite earth and sky as you're building the Master Sword.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Also, side note that, and this is going to be pretty unpopular, I love Link's crossbow training so that I have perfect scores and platinum medals on all of the levels in that game. And I'm not joking. That's a serious fact.
Did you use the thing that came with it? You had it beside you? Why did you have it beside you? Were you playing it recently?
No. I haven't played it in probably... But I do have perfect scores on every level in that game.
Nice.
Platinum or nothing. If I wasn't going to get platinum, I would quit and restart the level. It's like the whole game is that Hidden Village section.
Yeah.
People didn't like that game, but I actually really enjoyed it.
That's probably what caused it to be created, that they just loved that minigame so much.
They loved it. They're like, let's do it again.
Yeah, instead of just using it as a side story and then putting it in the game, they ended up making a whole game based on it.
But mostly, that came up in my brain as I was trying to think of the fact. But mostly those sage thing,
impressive.
The Earth and Wind sages, there's that connection. And then the first two temples you go to are the Skyview temples and the Earth temple. So uniting Earth and Sky. Thank you very much for attending my TED Talk.
Alright, I guess that's everything. Ilya, who are you? Why are you here? What are you doing? How's your night?
Ilya. I do narrations here, which is fun. I like doing them. I have a YouTube channel which has grown exponentially in the past, like, 48 hours. I have more than doubled my sub count in the past 2 days.
Woohoo!
I think Friday morning I was at 250. I'm currently at 582. So yeah, I do geeky videos on there about different subjects on Wednesdays. It's a good time. If I reach 1,000 soon, I might do a live Q&A or pre-recorded Q&A. I don't know. I don't know if people actually have questions for me. We'll see. Or open a Patreon. I don't know. But yeah, go check me out there. I also have an Instagram. IlyaRose_Geek Apprentice. That's pretty much it. That's me.
Daniel, who are you? And why do we all love you?
I don't even know who I am anymore. Just a guy that brags too much. But I'm Daniel. I co-host this dang podcast and sometimes do other things as well. You can follow me, please, if you're so inclined, on Twitter and Instagram and on Twitch at Capt Burgerson. That's CaptBurgerson, like a burger had a child, and that child became a captain, and that's me. And I have a website that I should mention. I'm sorry, I'm tired, and I'm like, my speech is slowing down. My website is burgersonmedia.com, and you can check out all the other projects that I work on. And you can also commission me to do things for you, because sometimes I make video intros, or I'll edit your video, or you can have a music free for your videos. Go check out the things that I worked on, even including the intro for Ilya's channel.
It's really good.
Simple
I love
one,
it.
but I just kind of did it for fun, so she gets it for free. You might not. Sorry. No, sorry. But
that was such an evil laugh.
But yes, that's yes, I usually Tuesdays or Wednesdays I stream on Twitch. So finished through Zelda 1 and 2, been playing A Link to the Past, not having nearly as painful a time doing that, so it's been a lot of fun. I'm already like halfway through the game though, in like 2 sessions, so I should probably slow it down a little, but we're just having a grand old time. It's a very laid back, fun time. And
yeah,
if you want to see Jesse ask me to take my shirt off, come follow me on Twitch. So
yes,
that's who I am. It's for science though.
Yeah, always for science. All right.
Yeah.
I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse. Everything is Game Over Jesse. You're already here, so you should be subscribed. If you're not, why did you watch a 4-hour podcast? So youtube.com/GameOverJesse, twitch.tv/GameOverJesse, facebook.com/GameOverJesse is our fan page that you can go to. There's 7,000 other people, almost 8,000, I don't know. Twitter.com/GameOverJesse, you can follow me there. You can join the Discord. There's links in the comments. And yeah, I have Instagram as well if you want to follow me there, but typically I only post pictures of myself and my amazing daughter. So you can go follow all of us. There are links to Twitters and Instagrams in the description. And thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.